on show. And of course, if you'd like to talk the New York Knicks with us, the number is 718-817-2750. But now it's time to talk about probably the greatest story in the city of New York right now, and that is the incredible run that the New York Knicks are on right now. They've won 9 in a row in the playoffs, stretching all the way back to their first round matchup. But they swept the Philly 76ers, who beat your Celtics in a 7-game series, and now they're up 2-0 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The third game, Game 3, is tonight at 8 p.m. But, I mean, how great is this New York Knicks team right now?
It's one of the most electric things I've ever seen in my life. Again, people have been waiting their entire lives to see this. Knicks haven't made a final since 1999. There's a lot of people that have been waiting for a moment.
Yeah.
Just even like this. And then, again, even Knicks fans who haven't seen a championship since the 70s. This is 50-something years in the making. It's kind of surreal to just see like New York and all, because they were so bad for so long. And I remember like being from up like around here. I kind of remember the entirety of you would always hear about the Knicks.
Yeah,
you're always going to hear about the Knicks, and if they suck, if they're good, you're always going to hear about them. So seeing this like electricity out of New York City, that apparently the watch parties outside of MSG are getting too rowdy, but that's what they're supposed to be. That is what it is supposed to be happening in this with this environment. Jalen Brunson. You said it earlier. I don't think I've ever seen an athlete take over a city like he has, and it's mostly because he has made the Knicks that relevant again. A city like New York, like this city, and an athlete like Jalen Brunson, I don't think there's any.
Yeah.
What do you think it compared to it in the United States, at least maybe?
I mean, he's
Tom
just
Brady.
In Boston?
I don't think Tom Brady transformed Boston culture like that.
I don't
Boston
think he
culture was
did.
always like that.
I don't think
Fair. Okay.
like Jalen Brunson is single-handedly like he is becoming the culture of New York City.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
himself. Like Tom Brady left. It was always the Patriots way.
True.
Patriots way.
It was established. I think sports in Boston established. I think when you have a city that has 10 sports teams and this many people that like aren't born and raised in New York, getting behind somebody, I think is pretty special.
Okay,
So
so
I'll give you that.
do we think this series is, it's just done at this point?
Over?
No,
Yeah.
the Cavs will win a
I mean-
game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think maybe they'll win a game, but I do think the series is over. And unfortunately, there's multiple things that are going to be holding the Cavaliers back right now. A question.
Your guy.
Yeah, no. So first is I want to bring up James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People tend to forget this a lot. He is the last American ever to win the National Basketball Association's MVP.
I mean, that's crazy.
He is not.
Crazy.
So he is the last American man to ever win the NBA MVP. But if you're the Cavs, do you regret trading Darius Garland for James Harden right now?
Yes.
Would you rather?
I
have
actually
Darius,
I mean, I don't know.
They were such a better team last year.
They made it further this year.
That's
That
what
is
I'm like-
true. That is true.
They did make it further this year with James Harden, but they did not have to run into the juggernaut that was the Indiana Pacers.
True. Oh, I love the Pacers.
I think the Cavs last year struggled with a lot of injuries. I mean, that was pretty much any team that the Indiana Pacers faced was just, stricken by injuries. Not discrediting the Pacers run. I thought what they did was admirable and one of the best stories, in recent memory. But honestly, I think if you're Cleveland, you don't necessarily regret trading for James Harden. Like, sure, in Game 1 when the Knicks made that 22-point comeback in the fourth quarter, like, James Harden was a traffic cone on defense. Like, he legitimately could not guard Jalen Brunson or anyone that the Knicks had on him. I saw a thing where it was like, could James Harden guard a parked car? and honestly,
Remains to be
the
seen.
case was pretty compelling in that a parked car gets going downhill when it's on a slope, and you don't think, and James Harden just can't guard people going downhill. But I think Garland was pretty bad for Cleveland for most of the season, and I think Cleveland's championship time frame is now. Like this is the best chance that they're going to get. They have to win tonight, and it's going to have to be because James Harden stepped up in a big way.
I'll say the same thing for the Knicks. Actually, the best time to win a championship is now. Anytime anytime the Celtics can get out in the first round of the playoffs.
True.
The Celtics are probably, they might not win it all, but they'll be close.
The East runs through Boston.
The East really does run through Boston.
Always has, always will.
It really does. There was for
Travis,
years.
that's why we're friends.
For years they were in the finals, or at least either going to the conference finals every year, or they were always on that cusp. So anytime you can avoid Boston in a series is a great time, and especially anytime you can avoid Boston in these types of championship games, it's their must win because the Celtics will reload.
Especially a team that has been there before and is going to have players that are so young that have been there before, will always know what it's like to be there. And, it's not a shoo-in. Absolutely not. We saw it this year. We saw them crumble, but there's more of a chance that they're going to be successful than not.
And then, again, that's Tatum coming back from his injury.
And
even though
not playing Game 7.
And Jaylen Brown having to revert back to his role as the second star. So, again, what I'm saying is now is the best time for both these teams to win.
Especially if Giannis comes, forget it.
Oh, yeah. Especially if Giannis comes back. Oh, wait, especially if Giannis comes to Boston.
Apparently Boston doesn't really want him like that.
I saw that Bill Simmons yesterday, but I don't think that's true. I think Jason Tatum wants him.
I will say this though, and it is time to bring it up. The Knicks going to the finals. There is only one reason why this entire thing is happening, and it is not Jalen Brunson. It is not Karl Anthony Towns.
I wonder where
it is not the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Is it OG?
It is Danhausen. Yes, you heard me correct. Danhausen.
Explain this to me.
At the United Center on February 28th at Elimination Chamber, a big crate was opened up in Chicago, Illinois, and out came Danhausen. Little did we know, his curses would not only apply to professional wrestling. On April 17th, Danhausen would make his debut on the ESPN program First Take, where he would go and confront Stephen A. Smith.
It always comes back to First Take.
Yeah. Danhausen curses the Knicks, saying that Stephen, just like he did to Dominic Mysterio, just like he did to The Miz, just like he did to Kit Wilson, he cursed them. And he said, and unlike professional wrestling that is scripted, we know basketball is not scripted. Dominic Mysterio lost his title. The Miz has had people beating up on him now. If you just watch SmackDown, you'll see how the curse has affected The Miz, and we'll get into it later. And Kit Wilson has been dragged out by little people. It is a real curse that it looks like. So when Stephen A. Discredits Danhausen and Danhausen curses the Knicks, what happens? The Knicks fall down 0-2 to the Hawks. Mm-hmm. Danhausen. And luckily for Danhausen's a really nice guy. He isn't going to hold a grudge just for Stephen A. Smith. So one fellow wrestling fan decided to Venmo him on Cameo, or make a cameo, paid around $500 human monies, and said, "Hey Danhausen, can you uncurse the Knicks? They're down 0-2 right now." So Danhausen, not only does he uncurse the Knicks, they haven't lost a game since. They have not lost a game since. They would go in 4-2 the Hawks, and then he goes on First Take again on Monday and says, because The Miz is a Cavs fan, he says the Cavaliers are cursed. The New York Knicks will win the series. And that is the same. And then Danhausen is courtside with his Danhausen New York Knicks jersey, and the Cavs blow a 22-point lead. They are 9-0 since the uncurse. They were 0-2 with the curse of Danhausen, and they are 9-0 since the uncurse.
I have not heard that story before, but it makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense, and it is the curse of Danhausen. I thought this is a professional wrestler I've been following for years, and I was not a fan of whatsoever. He's starting to make me a fan. Just going, all he does is goes on ESPN and says that people are cursed, and somehow the curses apply to the world of basketball.
Wow.
I don't know how. Do not know how, but it somehow applies to the world of basketball. The Knicks have not lost a game since, and now he is demanding he needs the seat in between Kylie Jenner and Timothy Chalamet.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right. Well, I guess with the blessing of Danhausen, it's a foregone conclusion that the Knicks are making the finals, basically. At this point.
It is a foregone conclusion that the Knicks are making the finals.
Question is,
I cannot argue with curses.
The question is that if the Knicks make the finals, do they have a chance at beating either the Spurs or the Thunder? And we'll talk about both those teams in the next segment. But we've always talked about how the West is so much better than the East, and how the East is a poverty conference when compared to the juggernauts in the Western Conference. So do the Knicks, in all their glory and all their blessings and all the good vibes that are happening in, the city that never sleeps, do they have a chance at bringing home the championship?
I don't think so, no.
So that was the Celtics hater, Maggie Danahy over here. Celtics lover, Knicks hater. What I'm going to say is enough of the Danhausen jokes and all that stuff. Yeah, I can make those jokes all day. But what I'm going to say about the New York Knicks and the Eastern Conference is the Eastern Conference does typically have, it has been seen as weaker.
Yeah.
And it usually has been weaker throughout the years. But that hasn't let some of these teams, the Bucks a couple of years back, usually it is the Celtics that are considered the dominant, strong team in there. But it hasn't stopped a lot of these Eastern teams from, getting over the hump of their self-perceived struggles, especially two teams like the Cavaliers and Knicks. With the Cavs, it was always, they can only get it done with LeBron James. It's that the Cavs were only a juggernaut with LeBron James. Without him, usually they were a laughingstock. With the Knicks were the laughingstock of the league for for almost 2 decades.
Yep. And
now it's time to put up or shut up. You look at the Pacers team last year; they had no right going 7 games with that Oklahoma City team on paper.
Yep.
So again, the East is kind of just it's funny because it's the wild East, and just how everybody kind of plays out every year.
The East is more competitive, which makes it a little bit. They're both a little bit more entertaining in the way of you don't really know what's going to happen.
But
I think the West is more entertaining in the brand of basketball.
But
there's only a couple of teams up there that can fight for it.
I agree with that, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't be surprised if the Knicks win the NBA Finals, or I feel like they can take it to. We've seen they beat the Spurs in the NBA Cup. I know that's only 1 game, but the New York Knicks are not a team we should sleep on of their goal is just to get to the finals. I don't think it's going to be a 2024 Mavericks scenario where going against your Celtics team, they were overmatched, outrated.
So good.
Kyrie wasn't going back to Boston, and Boston wasn't going to have Kyrie going back and have Kyrie beat them for a championship.
Absolutely not.
I can't see it. The Knicks really being hey, this is our year. We have to go get this done.
Yeah, I think especially if the Western Conference Finals game or series goes 7, I think both those teams are exhausted by the end of it because it's just huge blow after huge blow. And I think if the Knicks, win in 5 or sweep the Cavs, I think they're going to be fresher. I think they're going to have a little bit more hunger. I think they also have the right personnel in terms of their big scoring wings to match up well with the Thunder, and then also with the Spurs, like you mentioned in that NBA Cup final, where the Knicks took that home. But that is enough New York Knicks talk. We're going to transfer over to the Western Conference Finals after this break. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to One on One.
Hello everyone, I'm Trey Rodriguez, calling you to tune in to WFUV Sports One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. We're live every Saturday on YouTube from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and later at night on 90.7 FM from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. We cover the latest news in the sports world with our wide range of beat reporters, as well as exclusive interviews with your favorite athletes. We'll see you next Saturday on One on One.
Hey, what's up? It's Owen Kelty, one of WFUV Sports' New York Knicks beat reporters. Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks look to dominate the East and bring a championship back to New York. Keep up all season long on my X account at Owen Kelty for all the highs and lows of New York Knicks basketball. WFUV Sports is your home for all things Knicks.
Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running call-in sports show. Of course, if you want to talk with us, the number is 718-817-2750. And now we're going to talk about the colossal matchup that is the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the San Antonio Spurs. And Travis, I'm being told that you are a Spurs fan.
Yes, I am. I am a Spurs fan. Even though SGA was taken with my first pick in the last one, I am a Spurs fan.
And I think the story, I mean, it's been incredible basketball for the first three games. San Antonio took the first one in double overtime thanks to a monster game from Victor Wembanyama, and then Thunder have battled back in game 2 and 3, and they lead 2-1, and the game is Sunday night at San Antonio. But I think the number one story coming out of this has just been the level of physicality.
Yeah.
And how maybe the physicality has crossed a line in the eyes of many viewers out there, and I'm curious.
It's not judged the same.
So Lou Dort, obviously Lou Dort stepping on De'Aaron Fox's leg. I'm not a fan of that at all.
I'm not a fan of Lou Dort.
Hardenstein grabbing the Stephon Castle's hair a couple days ago.
That was insane.
It's getting crazy, and also my favorite professional wrestler in the world. He's taking so many bumps. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looking like Shawn Michaels against Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam 2005, with the way he's just overselling every little piece of contact he ever gets. It's getting to a point where it's getting ridiculous. Last night was a ridiculous game. They were up 20-4, 15-0 start run from the San Antonio Spurs, 20-4, and then by the time halftime comes around, we can't get out of a 12-point deficit the rest of the entire game. It was kind of sad to see. It is looking like, at least in my opinion, we're heading back for another OKC finals run. It was a little too early for the Spurs this year, but I'm keeping my optimism levels high for the future. I mean, you can't watch a season like this and be mad. I haven't watched Spurs playoff basketball since Derek White was going off the last time I saw a Spurs playoff game. It was a 7-game series against the Nuggets back in 2019. It was a Derek White series. Shout out Boston Celtics.
Go.
So that's how long it's been since I've seen the Spurs play in the playoffs. So I'm kind of it's been really rejuvenating. And knowing that this is a Western Conference Finals matchup, we'll see maybe 3 times over the next decade. Really gets me hyped.
I agree. But I think as a fan, you want to be prepared. I don't think it's over for them at all. I think that they can. I think you saw if SGA is not on it, like he wasn't in Game 1.
The thing is, when you blow a lead like that, 20-4 and 15-0, when you blow a lead like that at home in your first game at home, and then you can't and then OKC establishes that 12-point lead.
You can't let OKC get up by double digits because you won't get out of it.
They couldn't get back last night, and then that being the first game in San Antonio was very disheartening for me, because I'm starting to think now. Did the Spurs use up all their energy during the double overtime game this week? Was it so much just to pull the game 1 out at OKC that they've had to drop the next 2 games? So it's kind of disheartening. I don't like the way that game felt last night at all.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the two lineups, and especially the 2 benches, the discrepancy is just incredibly massive between the 2 teams. I think there are maybe 2 players on the Spurs bench that would make the OKC bench, but then all of the OKC guys, I mean, are just so incredible. Jared McCain had 24 points.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, no. Watching Jared McCain last night was,
and he's 9th in the rotation. I mean, it's just absurd that even if their starters don't have a good game, Shai maybe won't have a good game, in Game 4 or whatever, but they've got so many guys that can just step up.
9th in the rotation and only 2 days into college. Really good for him.
He's great. He was kind of that missing piece. I think that can pick up the slack from SGA that they didn't have. If he's Listen, SGA has not been their best player. It's been Alex Caruso. And so, and that was what it was last playoffs too. I mean, like, you don't get to the playoffs without the regular season, and I think SGA steps up in the regular season. But for me, it's not been the SGA versus Wemby show. It's kind of been like Wemby versus OKC. And, like, I think Alex Caruso has been, if there's no Alex Caruso, I don't know if.
I also need to give credit to De'Aaron Fox. Well, what Alex Caruso last year, you saying him being the best player made me think about the time last year in Game 7 when he, like, chased down Jokic, like, back-to-back and, like, just blocking him, like, the
when
shot.
Alex Caruso gets hot, forget it.
It's one of the most ridiculous things you'll see.
And for me, he doesn't rely on calls or that. He's a player. Like,
but watching De'Aaron Fox, like, play through the pain yesterday, like, when because he's been out for the first 2 games, and the Spurs really missed him. Stephon Castle struggles in the first 2 games with the turnovers.
Stephon Castle struggled a lot in the first game's turnovers, but Dylan Harper was working so well in that starting lineup that I don't know if taking him out was necessarily the right thing to do.
That is the dilemma when it comes to taking out for Fox and Harper being the number 2 overall pick, and being the 6th man is kind of like a
I understood it.
I mean, he is like 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
and what he does.
He was in my brother's school in high school. He in my grade, so he's a sophomore in college age.
Yeah, I mean, he is really impressive, but like Stephon Castle is not a natural born point guard. Like, he's not supposed to handle it every possession and then also guard SGA. Like, the level of intensity and effort required to do that is just astronomical. And, like, I don't really blame him for the turnovers because that's what
I don't
that's
either.
what OKC thrives.
I just think that having Harper with the amount of high class, like, one of a kind finishes at the rim that, like, he has so many of that, like, you do not know what finish he's going to take. Like, a lot of players have that, like, classic drive to the rim and, like, they're just, like, a classic move that, you know, they're going to do. He has so many in his arsenal that you don't know what he's going to pull out that, like, it's sent the defender kind of not knowing what way he's going to go. And I don't know if we've been able to see that in the regular season a lot from him, but him having that opportunity as a starter and playing more minutes, I think, is invaluable.
So I'm excited to see how the Spurs will play that over the next couple of years, because that means De'Aaron Fox could always be a trade target.
That's the thing, too. It's like you're going to have to give Dylan a starting spot or he's going to go somewhere.
But that's why I think De'Aaron Fox will be a trade target within, like, a year or two, and then that will be used for leverage to maybe get somebody else around, like, more people around Wemby and around Castle.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make a point with what you said about the turnovers, Tom. What you do to say about OKC creating and causing havoc and a lot of turnovers is right, and you can't necessarily blame you don't want to blame Castle just for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the most turnovers over a 2-game stretch in NBA playoff
history.
You can't have that.
It's not great.
You can't be like breaking records at the same time.
I mean,
I feel like 10 No, that
21
was 21 is 21 is
Yeah,
a little bit of a that's a little too high of a number, I think, especially for a game like look at that, the first game that went double overtime and the other game where you did lose by around, like, you only lost by, I can't remember the exact score.
Without the turnover, like,
Lost by 9.
they cost the game.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of like, you know, you don't know, maybe other things would have happened, but if you don't have those turnovers, if you score on not even all of them, like take 5 out.
At some point, I think if it's happening at that, like, ridiculous of a rate,
You got to try something.
You
have to try
be
something
a little
else.
more critical.
You have to try something else.
I think
So
you do
what
have
is
to
the
try
adjustment that needs to be made there?
I think he just needs. It is tough
Because there needs to be an adjustment.
probably the ball in his hands a little less. I would think most
Yeah,
of
And
the
who?
What?
Who would?
Stephon Castle.
No, I know, but who's now handling? Who's
Well,
that
if
ball
De'Aaron
handler?
Fox is
De'Aaron
back,
Fox.
we have Dylan Harper, and then
I
maybe
agree.
and then Wemby. Like, we've seen Wemby pull up from the almost
ridiculous.
from like I feel let Stephon
He's shooting from, like, ranges that, like, Steph Curry and, like, Caitlin Clark are, like, what I can think of shoot from, and he's 7'4".
Yeah, like when you see the side by clip of, like, Curry hitting that
Yeah.
shot against the Thunder in, I think it was like 2016 or something like that. Like
Pure
mirror
shooters,
images.
like people who are, like, shooters, and that's what they're known for.
Oh.
And this man is 7'4".
And speaking of 2016, that's the other point I wanted to get into. That's why the series means so much to me as well. 10 years ago, before the Spurs and the Thunder did play. It was the second round. There was a series there, and the Thunder ended up winning that series. They went on. They blew the 3-1 lead to Golden State, and we all know what happens after that. But the Thunder retired Tim Duncan with that series 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of upset about that. And I'm really hoping to really knock off their back-to-back chances.
Yeah.
This is a rivalry that is brewed over the last decade with what has happened. There have been so many.
And it's going to run the West because these guys are so young.
Yeah, on both teams. That's the scariest part. Both teams are going to run the West for like they did back in the day, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten the taste of that Tim Duncan the Tim Duncan out of my mouth.
Stuff like that never leaves you.
Yeah, so I was really hoping for the revenge, but it's looking like that's not going to happen. I'm just going to be a sad fan.
Yeah, and just one quick note on the physicality. Like, this might be slightly unpopular, but I don't hate what the Thunder are doing. Like, I think your job as a veteran team is to figure out where the line is in terms of where does the physicality cross the line.
But if the line's not the same, like, how can you literally rip somebody's hair and it go not even a foul?
I think it's
if
I
that
absolutely think
happened
it's
on the
dirty.
other side, forget it. Like, they're getting that person that they're getting ejected if that's Wemby. If
That's true.
Wemby's pulling somebody's hair, he's out of there.
Yeah,
I'm not even. I like Wemby. I'm not even a Wemby fan like that. Like, I'm pretty neutral. And actually, no, I'm not. I really don't like the Spurs, but I mean, I really don't like OKC, which makes me want to like the Spurs.
Wow, I was about to say.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it is a rough awakening for this Spurs team. Like, I mean,
It is.
like their average age is like 21 or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
ridiculous.
Like their oldest guy in the starting lineup is 25. Like,
Yeah.
this is their first deep postseason run. They've got to face
Yeah,
one
like
of the
De'Aaron
all-time
Fox
great
is
teams.
their vet. Like, and he's.
I think in order for them to be great, they have to take a few punches and then also deal some punches back. And I think I've yet to see that from the Spurs. I want to see them be aggressive.
Well,
be
the thing
physical.
is, what happens is when if they were to throw a few punches, again in
they
professional
can't. They're all in foul trouble.
in professional wrestling, we call it taking a bump. It's when you just like fall back like flat on your back, like, and it's like how you have to like it's how you like it's like the what am I trying to say? The performance of like falling down, and nobody in basketball has mastered that beautifully than SGA.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hands
That's
down. I don't know what wrestler he has been studying recently, but just
Mm-hmm.
every ESPN had last night had a whole highlight compilation of him, and every clip he was on the floor. He was on the floor, at least back down, or like maybe he's on his butt. I don't know.
I think they need to do some. They need to change some of the rules because it's just so like.
When-
no one wants to watch that.
When D Wade used to do the foul trouble, like used to get to the line all the time back in the day, it used to be really fun because
But think about like even how Braun did it. Like LeBron is low key a flopper, but like it was never to the point where that's all that people talked about with his game because he backed it up with so many other things.
D Wade.
I think it's overblown. I think the SGA rhetoric that all he does is like, flail around like a fish. I think that's not true. I mean, like he averages, over north of 30 points a game during the regular season, and it's not like it's because he's made 30 free throws a game. I think
I mean, a lot of like his 20-point streaks were all made for a lot of them saved that.
It is a complicated decision. I'll admit I'm on the hate train because they're playing the Spurs. I'll say that right now. I'll say that right off the bat. But yeah, I just can't believe that SGA like that. If you saw that graphic yesterday, like his highlight tape, every clip he was on the floor.
Yeah.
That was true, and I guess that might just be the series, the physicality of the series. Again, De'Aaron Fox coming like. He had tears in his eyes. He was coming off the bench. He was hurt, and he came back onto the court and still played. Like, that's a warrior right there. That's something I really like don't expect from basketball players a lot of the time to do in moments like that. Like, that's not something I would necessarily think of. That's, like, more of a fighting thing I mostly see, but that was just one of the toughest moments I've seen in basketball in a long time.
Yeah.
It's just him, like, Lou Dort, like, injuring him going to the thing, crying, and then, like, walking, like, limping right back onto the court.
Yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox has to step up as a leader for this Spurs team. And, I mean, he hasn't been able to do that for the first two games because he's been injured. But I think going out there and just...
And that's a real leadership trait, playing through the pain.
Yeah, playing through the pain, I think that sets the tone for the Spurs. And that's something I'd want to see in Game 4 is, like, a hard foul from someone or some aggressive play where it's like you're signaling to the Thunder, oh, we're not going to go
like,
that easy. Yeah, like if you want to play like that, we can do that too.
They need enforcers, and I think it's because maybe this team is so young, and like OKC has that chemistry. They're very close. We see that on social media and whatever. Maybe it's an act. I don't know, but like they give that impression, and I think that the Spurs team are so new with each other, but they got to ride with each other. They need enforcers. They need to like protect their teammates a little bit more, not be afraid to have someone come in and get a foul because they pulled Stephon Castle's hair. Like someone's got to. Like they all saw it, like protect your teammate.
Yeah. We're nearing the end of our segment here on the Western Conference Finals, and with this Thunder up 2-1, do we think the Spurs can come back?
Yes.
I think.
And will they? Can they and will they?
I think
they definitely can.
They'll get another game, maybe.
I think
maybe
they would.
two. I really want to, but I keep my expectations low.
If they can get it to 2-2, yes. If it goes to 3-1, no.
Maggie, that's the best point I think I've heard. Yeah, I can agree with that. As much as I want them to, I want to be like yes. I'm realistic, and it might be a little too much too soon.
Yeah, I think the Spurs win on Sunday. I think they just.
One more hope. They gotta win. They gotta have to win. If they don't win in San Antonio, I mean, you're cooked.
Yeah, I mean
that's
you can't
honestly
can't win like that.
Yeah, that's how the Celtics lost. They didn't win at home.
Yeah, but I think the Spurs lose in 7. I think the amount of minutes that Wemby has to play, like he's playing 40 minutes a game.
And when Luke Cornett comes in, like that's when everything goes wrong.
I mean, we talked about
Luke
James
Cornett is so bad with the boards. Like. He just like stands there. He doesn't even try to get offensive rebounds.
It's like me if I play basketball.
I do like Luke Cornett though, but he does some things well. Offensive rebounds, which is what they need, is not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about James Harden being a traffic cone. I mean, Luke Cornett has been acting like one for most of this game. The Spurs are minus 38 in the 26 minutes that he's been off the court.
And
in
for
this
me,
series,
and
they're plus 29.
That's unfortunately Wemby's biggest fault, and I think what like holds him back from being that mega star that we've never seen before is like the minutes restriction.
Well, first of all, he's also in year 3, so
that is true. That's 100% true.
The minute restriction is true,
but they're not going to get over the line unless they have either somebody that can compensate or they figure it out. So.
And. Who knows? Maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo and some first-round picks. And yeah, no, I know you want Giannis. Don't worry. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. But it's very interesting to see. This team is so young, and again, like not seeing the Spurs play playoff basketball since 2019, and then
take what you could get.
Hey, I'm gonna take what I could get. 62 wins.
And I think you'll get there. I think maybe not this year, but you're gonna get there with this team.
Undoubtedly.
Hopefully, I'm hoping so.
But the Spurs might be the last hope at stopping an OKC back-to-back. But the Knicks might have a word in the NBA Finals. But that is going to do it for us for basketball talk. After this interview with Mike Vaccaro, who is the lead sports journalist at the New York Post, he was interviewed by Tucker Austin and Alex Diaz. We'll transfer from the hard court to the diamond, and we'll talk Yankees, Mets, as well as the rest of the MLB after this interview. You're listening to One on One.
It's WFUV New York, fostering community with public media from Fordham University, on air, online, and always commercial free.
we sort of lost something of the volatility and accountability that came from the George Steinbrenner era?
Well, I would argue there's still plenty of accountability, especially because everybody has a column now, right? Because all you got to be is on social media, and the Yankees will know one way or another how you feel about things, and it's not just how us guys in the press box are feeling. But I think, at least specific for the Yankees, I think it is a sign. I don't want to call it maturity, but just an embracing of stability. And look, that stability started under George. He hired Brian Cashman in 1998, and that was the last general manager he ever hired. He hired George Steinbrenner in 1995, and by the time Joe Torre's time there ended, George was really no longer in charge of the day-to-day, although he certainly had his opinions. But I think that part of that is because, look, I think you understand that winning only happens through consistency. And look, if you're in a bad situation, like the Red Sox just fired a manager, right? I don't know if I would have done that because I think Cora is a very good manager. But look, there are some times that the organization reaches a point where they think they need a new voice in the room. And I'm sure that will happen to Aaron Boone if they ever believe that. But, I think Hal Steinbrenner values the fact that, he's got a team in place that gets him 94, 95 wins every year. And so they're always in play. And, he's not inclined, I think, to change just for the sake of change. Now, look, he fired Joe Girardi, or approved the firing of Joe Girardi, after Girardi came within one game of the World Series. So he's not against firing when he thinks it's necessary. He's proven that. But look, I think it's a much better situation to now, where a manager doesn't feel like he's managing. If he has one bad week, he's going to be at the door. And it's probably better for the long-term strength of the team that their top prospects aren't always at the door at the whims of the owner, which happened a lot under the George Steinbrenner leadership of the 80s. So
I'd like to jump a little bit more into talking about Hal here. I think Yankee fans have kind of always viewed him as living sort of in his father's shadow. I think we've seen Hal kind of some glimpse of being his own owner, but do you think part of the way he operates is still understanding the fact that he kind of lives in the shadow of his dad?
Oh, he definitely does, and he understands that. He makes a point of saying he's never found it to be a burden. He thinks it's a privilege to have that particular, to be his father's son, to run the Yankees as his father did for 37 years. He embraces it. The only thing that bothers him is when people think he doesn't want to win as much as his father did. Guys, the story that I like telling a lot is one that Hal told me while I was writing this book, and he said, look, I watch the Yankees on TV, and they lose a tough game in the ninth inning. I'll throw my shoe at the TV. The difference is my father, he would watch the Yankees. They'd lose a tough game on TV. He'd throw his shoe at the TV. Then he'd call up the New York Post and the New York Daily News and say, guess what I just did? I just threw my shoe at the TV. And all of a sudden, they had 3 days worth of back pages. Well, guess what? That's just not something that Hal's ever going to do. He has no interest in doing that. That's just not who he is. And so, look, for better or worse, he is his own man. He is not like his father. I think that's part of what made him so appealing as a successor to George, was knowing that Hal was not going to be as impatient or as impetuous or as quick to anger, quick to decisions that maybe not be best in the long-term interest of the team as he was. I think he was able to recognize that. That never was going to stop him from doing it in his own right, because this is how he was, George. But that definitely, but Hal does not have any, he is not burdened by this at all. I believe that. He has a hell of a time owning that team, and he really enjoys it. He's young, healthy. I think he's going to do it for a number of years.
I'd love to jump a little bit into just your process behind writing this. How did covering George as a beat reporter kind of shape how you wrote about him now as a biographer? And was there any instances of having to fight your own preconceived notions or your own assumptions while writing this?
I think the fact that I did know him a little bit meant I didn't have as many preconceived notions as if I was just doing it cold and just doing it based, by my initial research based on, old headlines and old stories. I think that probably helped me a little bit in terms of that. Look, I kind of had a couple of different ways that I reported this book out. One, everything that he ever did is on the record in the archives of all the New York newspapers. So I feasted on all of that. I myself have done a great deal of firsthand reporting really beginning in 1995 or 96 when I first started coming around the Yankees. And then a couple of years later, once I got a job at the Star Ledger and a job at the Post, then obviously that was a job requirement to be around George all the time and to have a relationship with him. And so I had that to build on. So really everything since 1998 or so, the stuff that I got myself just by being around the team as much as I was. And so I had that. And then look, just because I wasn't around for a lot of the stuff I was writing about in the 70s and the 80s, I just wasn't old enough. I was in grade school and high school in those days. But I've developed relationships with a lot of Yankees. I talked to a lot of them, and I told them I was going to talk to them on background, so they wouldn't have any worry about saying anything on the record. Look, I mean, people have memory's a weird thing, right? I mean, people can remember things a certain way. They choose to remember things a certain way. A lot of these guys wound up having a very good relationship with George later on, even if they battled with him when he was a Yankee, when they played for the Yankees. So, look, there's a lot of people with a lot of stories, and I told him, look, I'm not gonna put your names to this. I have those stories. I just want to make sure that the stories I tell happened as they happened, and there's not any glaring errors. And thankfully, there really wasn't any, and I was pretty much put ashore that everything I have in the book happened as it happened, and I don't think I embarrass anybody in telling those stories either.
Yeah, and it's really it's an amazing feat, I would say, the book in general, just because like the switch from George to Hal, like you mentioned, all of George's actions were documented in the media, but then a lot of what Hal does behind the scenes doesn't really come out. So getting that kind of lens into how the Steinbrenner operation really works, I think is going to be it's really valuable for Yankee fans and for non-Yankee fans just to understand how that organization functions. But turning to the modern team now this year, the Yankees did not make any moves really in the offseason aside from bringing back players from the 2025 campaign. I just wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts before the start of the 2026 season, sitting with that offseason? And have those thoughts changed now a month into the season with the Yankees sitting atop the American League?
They did. I mean, I thought what they did was smart. I mean, it's a team that won 94 games last year. Look, the Blue Jays happened to get hotter than them at one particular time during the summer, and then of course they were a couple of games better than them in October. And but again, and I know Yankee fans hate the whole idea of the word crapshoot, but the fact is that's what the postseason is. Look, the Dodgers are supposed to be this infallible operation, and they should have lost the World Series 2 and 3 different times last year. So it's hard to win the World Series, and the odds are against you really doing it. But I think what you have to embrace is the opportunities that you get every year, and the Yankees have those opportunities every year. And look, I mean, I thought it was a smart move. And the fact of the matter is, what they have now, lined up once they get Garrett Cole back, once they get Rodon back. I mean, they have the opportunity to have one of the best rotations they've ever had. And what better weapon do you want than that going into October? And look, I mean, I think it's been borne out so far. I don't think the American League is very good. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as the standing to tell you it is right now, because right now it looks like one team and a bunch of pretenders. I think it's probably better than that. But look, I mean, I think that I think the Yankees are going to be there in October. I think they're going to be a very difficult out in October. And does that mean they're going to win the World Series? But the Dodgers are still lurking. There's a couple of teams that I think could take them out. But they can take anybody else out too. I truly believe that. I think that look, as long as your lineup is built around Aaron Judge, and now you got the first baseman who's just been extraordinary, and he just keeps getting better and better and better and better. And I think the sky is the limit for this team. I really do, especially because of that pitching. And I'm really interested to see what it's going to look like in July when every day you're throwing out a genuinely good, if not elite pitcher. And that's going to be fun to watch, I think.
I'm really glad that you mentioned Rodon and Cole, because I was going to ask a follow-up about the pitching and about those guys coming back to the rotation. The Yankees rotation hasn't been necessarily like struggling in the first month of the year, even without those guys. So what happens to guys at the bottom of the rotation, or what do the Yankees have to do with those guys once Rodon and Cole come back? Thinking about like a Ryan Weathers, does he go back to the bullpen? And how do they kind of like move those pieces around to find room for Cole and Rodon again?
Look, I think they'll figure it out because You can never have enough pitching. I mean, that's a saying as old as baseball itself. You're asking a lot for all those guys to make every start between now and the end of the year. So it's nice to be able to plug those guys in. And look, I think the one area of concern the Yankees have is, the bullpen, because has been the one shaky. They've had shaky moments this year. So, if you're reinforcing those arms, I think that's not a bad thing. And look, I mean, like I said, pitching depth, I don't think anybody's ever going to complain about that. Now, the pitchers themselves might complain about it because they're not going to be used as often or in the roles they had before. But look, I mean, that's how the Yankees built this team. I think it was smart to build them this way. I think they have potentially the best, rotation certainly in the American League, if not the sport. And I think it's a smart way to try and win in October. Because I think I know the de rigueur term now is run prevention, but there's no better way to prevent runs than to have a good, top line pitcher on the mound every year. And look, you're not going to go 5 deep in the playoffs, so one of those guys is also going to go in the bullpen. And he's going to really make that bullpen a monster. For teams to try and get some runs on the board before the Yankees do. So I think they're in a good spot, a good space, and I think they're going to have a great shot in October. I really believe that.
Already with the best record in the American League through a month, and they've got so many pieces that are guaranteed to return to the roster. So the Yankees are in a really great spot. Mike, thanks again for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Great talking to you guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Keep your eyes peeled for Mike Vaccaro's new book, The Bosses of the Bronx, The Endless Drama of the Yankees Under the House of Steinbrenner, in stores or online. And don't go anywhere because we'll be right back after this with more one-on-one on WFUV Sports.
Welcome back inside the Rose Hill studio. That was a great interview with Mike Vaccaro. But now we are going to talk Yankees and Mets, and we're joined by our resident Mets expert here at WFUV Sports, Grace McCarran. Grace, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be on. Obviously doing the graphics today, but love hopping in for a little Mets talk and some Yankees talk too. Mostly Mets though.
We'll start with the team in Queens.
Yeah.
A lot has been said about how bad the Mets were, especially in April, that 12-game losing streak. How are they doing now in the past month? I feel like I haven't heard a ton about them. They're not at the top of the division, but they're not sucking nearly as bad as they were in April.
Correct. They have been a lot better. Let's take you through the month of May. They won a series against the Angels in Anaheim, which the Angels are very bad, so you got to do that. They won their next series against the Rockies. They lose their next against the Diamondbacks. They sweep the Tigers, and then it's the Subway Series last weekend. They win the Subway Series in Queens. They split the series with the Nationals, I should say, and we'll see what happens with this Marlins series. They lost the opener yesterday. So a little bit better. You see some series wins there. For a while, they could not win a series. It felt like they were either getting swept with the 12-game losing streak, or they were just winning maybe 1 of 3, and they couldn't really get anything going. They've definitely looked a lot better in the month of May. They have some players that have gotten hot. Bo Bichette has been way better. Juan Soto is back from the injury. He's been great, as per usual for him. But there's been some other things, like Clay Holmes was having a fantastic season, and then we learned last week that he broke a bone in his leg, and he will probably be out for, they said a while, I would guess, the rest of the season, but... So it's been up and down. It definitely has not been all sunshine and rainbows, but I'm liking better what I've seen recently.
What are your expectations for this season?
I think they can still make the playoffs. Right. I know nobody else thinks so. It's going to be hard when you dig yourself a hole like they did with the 12-game losing streak. Not many teams still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
With that, the division is not easy. The Phillies are 1 game under 500, but they've been a lot better recently. the Braves are a wagon. They could go to the World Series. But the other two teams are like, yeah, whatever. But the Mets also are struggling to sometimes beat the bad teams. That was a big problem in April, and you hope that doesn't come back up. But I think they can still make the playoffs if some things happen for them. They really need a lot to go right to still make the playoffs, and it's going to be hard. But if they, they could get hot at some point. Some teams will cool off. You never know. It's still early.
Okay, so let's say they don't make the playoffs. Like, where's this Mets, Steve Cohen experiment at in your books? Like, is it a complete failure for missing the playoffs for the second year in a row, or?
No, I wouldn't say it's a failure. I would say it's leaving some to be desired. He did, when he bought the team, said, I want us to have a ring in 3 to 5 years. We've now passed that window.
Yeah.
It's that 5 years mark last season. Obviously, that did not happen. But they've also been, under his ownership, they've been consistently competitive in a way that they were not under previous ownership. And I think that is something that fans, last year when they had the epic historic collapse, obviously that was terrible, and there was a lot of things that should not have happened then. But you also do have to, at some point, appreciate that they are not just at the bottom of the barrel 100% of the time anymore. And I think fans forget that. Once you get the taste of, like, the magical run in 2024 when they were a couple of games away from the World Series, you forget what it feels like to be bottom of the barrel because you got the taste of being so good. They're not bottom of the barrel. Like, they have one bad couple of months, and that's true. They should not be this bad, but there's been a lot of things. They've had a lot of injuries. There's been a lot of things. They had a lot of players that they were counting on to be at their best that maybe they shouldn't have been. But I don't think it's a failure. I think there's some things that could be done differently, and that's not even necessarily Steve Cohen's problem, but it's a work in progress, I'll call it.
Okay, so as a Yankees fan, like, obviously, like, I just feel bad. I don't necessarily hate the Mets, but I just, a little bit of sympathy. Maggie, I'm assuming you're a Red Sox fan.
Oh, yeah.
So what is your impartial view of the Mets this season? We've heard Grace's point of view and how it's like, it could be better. A lot of things left to be desired, but honestly not a total disaster.
It's not a total disaster, but I just feel like they need to stop not making excuses, but like want more for themselves, like the ownership, and like I think I just feel like they keep settling, and like just you shouldn't settle. Like it should be, like, in my opinion, I was talking about this with my dad last night, like the goal for every single team is for the first start of the season for any sport is to win as much as you can, and win the biggest prizes there are and biggest trophies and titles there are. And I think that it's like just being like okay with being good, right? Okay with being up there in the conversation, so it's just like get over the line.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was alluding to with there's things that need to be done to push them over the hump. My biggest gripe with recent times with the Mets is that there's not been a lot of investment in pitching. And that is so, we see league-wide. If you look at the Dodgers pitching staff, obviously this is top of the line. Like, you're not going to get better than that. But that is what you need to be aiming for when you're, in the same league as the Dodgers. Exactly. You can't get to the World Series without getting past them. But just generally, like, that's what you should be aiming for. Even a team like the Yankees have a great rotation, and they are one of the top 2 best teams in the American League right now. Like, that is what you need to be that good. And the Mets have not had that recently. They've had injuries. Obviously, Clay Holmes going down is a huge blow with the way he was performing. But, like, they're relying on a lot of, like, they have an opener every 5 days. That's part of their rotation now, is they go with an opener. And those games are, if you watch a lot of baseball, you hear your team's throwing an opener out there and it's a bullpen game. It's usually not a good sign. Like, it's usually like we need to fill this up. But they have a lot of rookies coming up, and some of them have been okay, and, others, maybe you would like them to have a little more time in the minors to develop, but I would like more investment in the pitching. And Freddie Peralta, they got him in the offseason, he's been solid, but he, we're not looking at Tarek Skubal, who now is injured, but, that's not what we have right now. So that's a little something to be desired. But
I mean, it's just a little bit confusing to me because, like, the Mets have, the number 1 payroll in the MLB. and yet the pitching staff is just outside of 3 guys just devoid of talent, and it's just like where has the money gone?
Right. Well,
especially
that's
when
thing.
the
You can't
offense
be
isn't
the number
keeping
one,
up.
the number one spending and not be performing. Like I just
It's
feel like
not good. Yeah.
that's not. It's just like there's something much bigger going on in terms of like what is going on with like I don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about the Mets, but like what's going on with management and players, or like why is that you're spending all this money and not performing? It's just
Also another thing that I was talking about earlier is that they were banking on a lot of guys to be really like at their best. Marcus Semien is one example. Marcus Semien is 35. They traded Brandon Nimmo to the Texas Rangers for him. Now Brandon Nimmo was on a very long and expensive contract, so okay, you want to get rid of the contract. That makes sense. That at the time I was like, all right, I see where they're going with this, but Marcus Semien has not really been useful, and he's also 35. So he's probably only going to be here for this season or next season. I don't know. But there's Jorge Polanco was their signing to, have a first baseman after Pete Alonso left. He's injured, and we don't know when we're going to see him again. It doesn't sound like it's going to be soon. Like, you're relying on a lot of guys to be really, really good, and you just can't really do that unless you're literally talking about, like, Juan Soto. Obviously, you can pencil him in to be very good. And, Francisco Lindor is injured. There's other things, too. Bo Bichette has been slow to start the season. That's fine. He's getting better recently, but they were banking on a lot of guys that maybe are not stars anymore. Like, Marcus Semien has been very good in the past, and so is Jorge Polanco. I'll give him that, too. But, like, you're banking on all these guys to be at their best possible selves, and you just can't really do that with these kinds of players that they've been signing.
Like, the question for me is, like, what is the Mets time frame like? Because obviously you have Soto for, what is it, like 15 years at this point?
Yes.
And then you've got a bunch of older guys, like you said, age 30 plus, who are just not producing. And so if it's not this season, which season is it happening? And, like, my question for you is, like, what is, like, I feel like the Mets are just going one season at a time and aren't necessarily building something gradual. I thought they were when they made it to the NLCS, and that was before Soto. And then you add Soto, suddenly they're World Series favorites, and then nothing happens. And it's just like, what is the game plan for the Mets?
It's kind of hard to say right now because, again, we're not even halfway through this season, so I don't want to say that this season is completely, like, done for. Because they have, at this point in 2024, not that this is the same team at all, but at this point in 2024, they were not a good baseball team, and then they went to the NLCS. Like, you can turn it around. It has happened. In 2019, I'll whip another example out here so we don't have to keep using 2024, but in 2019, the Nationals started 19-31, obviously very bad, and then they went on to win the World Series. So
with Juan Soto.
With Juan Soto. That can happen. It's not common. It's not easy at all, but they are still in the win now window. We'll have to see in July what's going to happen at the trade deadline. I think that'll be interesting to see. That's obviously a little ways away, but that will tell us where they're headed for this year. If they decide to buy, if they decide to sell, if they can sell some of these guys who have been underperforming. I don't really know if they can, but we kind of just have to see. This season is not completely lost. However, I'd like to see them wake up a little bit. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like the next couple of years, you have to evaluate, especially with David Stearns, who was such a great, everyone was really happy with that pick for GM. With David Stearns, is that the guy? Like, you kind of have to go with last season. It was like really historically bad, and this season maybe, it might be the same thing, it might not be. You kind of have to just wait and see on that end of things. But yeah, their window should be right now. I don't think they're going to win the World Series this year. I think that would be pretty crazy. But yeah, their window is still right now until we learn otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that. But we'll transfer over to the Bronx now to talk about the Yankees, who are definitely in win now mode. We're talking about a team that is second in the AL. And if you asked me 2 weeks ago what I thought about our chances, I would say pretty good. Now I'm not so sure. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They're now 5.5 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays in the AL East. And it's been a combination of injuries to some guys in the outfield, also Jose Caballero, and then also guys in the rotation like Max Fried's now on the IL. Luis Heel just hasn't been performing. But then you bring guys back like Garrett Cole, who maybe works up back up to, Cy Young level, caliber pitching. But I just, it's hard to figure out what's going wrong with the Yankees. It's just everyone's dried up. Judge is going through a pretty horrendous dry spell right now. Just hasn't been able to get anything going. Maggie, as someone who probably delights in the Yankees' demise, how are you feeling about this season? Obviously, the record is pretty good, especially when compared to the Red Sox. But probably not living up to many Yankees fans, aspirations.
Probably not. I think that fans of their own team to cope tend to downplay it, because I still think the Yankees are untouchable, and I still think that they're going to be really, really successful and are one of the best teams in the entire MLB. And I think fans are so used to winning and to being the best that when it's maybe not as prolific and obvious as it has been in the past, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, the world is ending.
Mm-hmm.
But as a Red Sox fan who has seen so much Yankees success, especially living in New Jersey, you guys are fine. You're fine. You're making a mountain. What is that saying? Mountain out of whatever it was.
Something of a anthill or something.
Something like that.
I know what you mean.
It's so fine. It's gonna be so fine.
Yeah.
Because I would love to be that successful.
Yeah. I would say the same.
If I had the Yankees record, I'd be thrilled.
Oh my God, I'd be so happy. I think this might be just a little dry spell for the Yankees. They were great before. They were the best team. Right, they were the best team in the American League for weeks. Now the Rays are pretty good. But do I think if it's the ALCS, the Rays and the Yankees, do I think the Rays are going to win? No.
Also, it's the opposite. As a Yankee fan, you don't I don't want to get excited that the Yankees are now going to fall off. Right. As you have a Red Sox and a Mets fan, we would love nothing more for this to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get my hopes up, because I know it's not going to happen, because I think the culture of the team and the fans and ownership and organization and players is they wouldn't even let it happen. They know what to do, and I wish they didn't, but they do.
Yeah, they also have this yearly very strange occurrence where they just have a terrible month in the summer. Now it's still May.
Have to.
I feel that is common, but it's very noticeable with the Yankees, because usually they're totally cruising in April and May, and then in June all of a sudden they can't play baseball. It's very weird. But now, I'm not saying that that's what this is. You're playing, the Blue Jays. First of all, that was a series split, so that's not, it's not the end of the world. But, that's a team that was just in the World Series last year. Now, the Mets, there were some weird occurrences in that last game that led to the Mets winning. I'm not saying that we didn't deserve to win that game, but also we had some help from some errors and some other weird things. But, I don't think the sky is falling with the Yankees. I think it's going to be fine. It definitely...
It never is.
It never really
it
is.
never will. And it never is, and it never will.
I will maybe give you 2023, the sky was falling a little bit.
They picked it right back up.
Right.
For the sky to fall, it has to be years.
It has to be, really sustained.
It's never
awful
happened.
Nightmare. And it just has never been.
It has to be the Red Sox curse. It has to be the Mets, whatever goes on over in Queens.
Right.
Always. It never is going to happen, and you guys are more than fine. So
I think you're going to.
Wow.
Okay, I feel a lot better
Yankees
now. Thank you for that.
fans are Celtics fans are greedy and used to winning, and when, making the playoffs for the Celtics and first round exits is the worst thing to ever happen, where it's then you have to put in perspective, many teams don't make the playoffs. Teams don't always make the playoffs.
Right.
So it's it's just when you're used to sustained success from even before your time, which is the Yankees, which is the Celtics, you don't know anything different.
Yeah.
So it feels like the sky's falling, but it never will.
No, it really
We
isn't.
really just have to accept that as a Red Sox.
Wow. I mean, this was a great therapy session.
Yeah.
I will say, I think the issue with Yankees fans, I'm not trying to say that the world is falling, but I think the issue for teams that, want to win a World Series pretty much every year, I think it's when you compare yourselves to the Dodgers, because I mean
That's
they
true.
are the golden
Yes.
standard
Absolutely.
of the MLB, and they never seem to falter really.
No.
Like you would say, maybe this is a slow start for them. They're still atop of the NL West. Like I think that's the issue. I think for teams like the Braves, like the Phillies, the Mets to a certain extent, like the Yankees, teams that come into the season expecting to contend for the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
When they falter, it seems like the Dodgers, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what happens to them, no matter how many injuries they go through. I mean, you think back to last year, like the amount of injuries that happened to their pitching rotation heading into the playoffs really didn't seem to matter, and they just sort of
Not
just
at all.
bulldozed their way through that.
I think the Yankees are closer to the Dodgers than you think they are. Not in terms of like talent, but in terms of like just like I think they are the two faces of the MLB. I mean, that Yankees hat and that LA hat, like go anywhere and people know nothing about baseball. Like, and me and Sam were talking about this. It's like, cause like when Arsenal won, like 3 players had on Yankees hats, and it's like what? Like
Yeah.
to go out to like celebrate, and it's just like. That is when people think of the MLB, they think of the Yankees, and they're now starting to think of the Dodgers as well. And like, the Yankees will always be there. They always will.
We also have to take a look at the rest of this American League, which is deeply uninspiring.
Yeah,
besides the
that's-
Rays,
That's very true.
that
It's
and
like,
we'll get
it's
into it.
always it's like the NBA, it's the East. In this,
Yes.
it's always our teams that are in this like.
It is. There
Can't
are
compete.
no. Okay, you could throw the Guardians in there, but again, how much do you really believe in the Guardians? They're 31-22. The American League West, the A's are 1 game over 500. Everybody else is below 500. In the Central, the White Sox are somehow 2 games over 500, and then you have the Guardians 31-22. Everyone else below 500, and those are some teams like the Tigers were supposed to be far better, but none of these teams are remotely inspiring to the naked eye, and
Yeah.
it's how it is. You're lucky. Like the Orioles, if we look at this division, the Orioles I thought were going to be way better, especially after getting Pete Alonso. The Red Sox, honestly, Maggie, I'll hand you this one. I thought they were going to be way better too. And the Blue Jays
They're
were just in
turning
the
it
World
around,
Series.
though.
They're
Okay.
yeah
The Red Sox started like yikes, like could not even watch.
yeah.
They're starting to. They're on a streak, I think.
But like the Blue Jays were just in the World Series. Obviously,
Yeah.
they lost a couple of their players, but like they're also under 500. So the Yankees are lucky that this division isn't way harder like everybody thought it would be.
Yeah.
And the Rays are they're 34-15. They've been very good, but other than them, I'm not feeling super threatened if I'm the Yankees by any of these other teams. I feel like they could take any of them, especially like I like the A's a lot. I think they have some fun players, but like the A's are not a threat to them at all if they win the West. Like it's yeah. I don't really think the Yankees. The long and the short of it is that I don't think the Yankees have anything to worry about.
Okay.
Maybe until you hit the ALCS.
Okay, so no need to
No
press
need-
the
yeah.
panic button.
No.
Let's just.
It's just a little bit of a murky like run they're on right now.
And you know what? It's just because you're having yours early that it's like everyone's
Yeah.
gonna have it. You're
Yeah.
just having it
Okay.
early.
that is
Wait for the summer, and then everyone's gonna. You just can't falter again, though.
that is fair enough. It is a
Actually,
100.
maybe one more time.
No, you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the room for error is quite. It's quite a big room.
Mhm.
It's like Grand Central out there. But that is going to do it for us talking about New York baseball. But we'll expand to the rest of Major League Baseball after this break. You are listening to One on One on WFUV Sports.
It's WFUV New York, fostering community with public media from Fordham University, on air, online, and always commercial free.
Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. If you'd like to chat up some baseball, the number is 718-817-2750. And now we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball as a whole. Take a little bit of a look at the rest of the league outside of the Yankees and the Mets. But we're first going to talk about some awards and where we are heading towards the end of May. We'll start with the MVP on both sides. The odds right now are Judge, Bobby Witt, Yordan Alvarez, and then Ben Rice. And then on the NL side, it's Ohtani, obviously, Olsen, Schwarber, and Harper. Judge and Ohtani are pretty heavy favorites as of today, which is May 23rd. Where does everyone see the award shaping up on both sides of the AL and the NL? Like, are Judge and Ohtani just gonna run away with both of these awards?
I think we're staying. I think it's just who it always is.
Can I be controversial?
Of course.
I think it could be someone that's not Ohtani.
Oh, go on.
Do you have a
Go
person or it's not him?
Well, first of all, he's been very cold recently to the point where when he was pitching the other night, they didn't have him in the lineup, which is kind of unusual. And also to pull the plug on a guy like Shohei Ohtani for that one. I think he's back now to doing both, but to not have him do that is kind of, I think, a big reaction to have for someone like him. But I don't know. I like what Matt Olson's been doing. And also the Braves, the Braves have been so good that he's probably one of the biggest reasons that they've been that good. I don't know, though. I would say Aaron Judge on the American League side, although Ben Rice for a while was just going ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually like to see that. I think Ben Rice is fun, but
okay.
I don't know. I don't think either of them are a lock, really. Obviously, it's very early, but thus far, MVPs probably Judge and who are the other ones you'd said were favorites?
In the AL, it's Judge, Bobby
Mhm.
Witt, Yordan Alvarez, Ben Rice, Mike Trout. Nick
Okay.
Kurtz is
When
down there.
the World Cup happens, Ben Rice and Declan Rice should do a jersey swap.
I like that.
Right?
That's a good idea.
They should. That's funny.
They kind of look kind of similar.
I guess I would say Matt Olson thus far, just because the Braves have been unbelievable. Definitely, I think have been overperforming. But Ohtani is also, I believe Ohtani had the lowest ERA in the league at one point, so that was a big one. But then you bring in the fact that he hasn't been hitting well, apparently. I've just heard that. I don't know, but he'll figure it out if he's not. If he is cold right now, I don't really think it's that big of a deal, and he is still batting .273, which is very good. So, I don't know. I don't think anyone's a lock yet. There's nobody who's like, oh, they're absolutely going to. But they've, Judge and Ohtani have both been great, so they're not bad picks. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about Ohtani is that by his standards, his bat hasn't been that good. He's still batting 882 OPS, which is, a career year for many players. But then just how dominant he's been on the pitching side.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's more likely that he wins Cy Young? I don't really know. We've never seen a player like Ohtani before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to have a barometer for him. It's not. So.
But on the AL side, I think Judge probably takes it. As I mentioned during the Yankees segment, he is cooling down quite considerably compared to his usually lofty standards. But he'll figure it out at some point, and then who's behind him? It's hard to see. Yordan Alvarez, doesn't play defense. He's a designated hitter. He's gonna have to have he's gonna have to hit 50+ home runs. Bobby Witt is obviously incredible on defense. The question is, does he have enough pop with his bat? And then Ben Rice is just, can he stay healthy? Pretty much. He was out for a week or so with a weird wrist thing. But yeah, I'd probably say Judge, and then I like the Matt Olson pick. But I think if Kyle Schwarber keeps doing what he's doing, I think I might go with him.
That's a good pick too. Yeah. What do you?
I agree.
Textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Cy Young side of things, in the AL, it's Cam Schlittler for the Yankees, Dylan Cease, DeGrom, Jose Soriano, and then on the NL side, it's Paul Skeens, Christopher Sanchez, Ohtani, and then Chris Sale. We don't have to go super in depth on who's going to win each award, but do you have any upset picks? That there hasn't been someone who's really distinguished themselves from the pack quite yet.
No, but I love Jose Soriano. He has been less fantastic recently by a little bit. His ERA is kind of evening out a little. I think it's like maybe 250 now, but I love Cam Schlittler. He's the face of my fantasy baseball team. So I have to root for him, but I would say right now it looks like him. For a while it looked like Fried. Now he's hurt, so it probably doesn't help him much. On the NL side, I guess it's probably the favorite is Ohtani, still with the really low ERA, but I don't really know on that one. That's a tough one. But probably Paul Skeens right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really bad against the Mets first game of the season.
That was the weirdest opening day maybe I've ever seen. I did not know what was happening at any point. And a lot of those runs, I'll admit, were because of his center fielder, O'Neal Cruz, just bungling left and right. He should have killed him after. But that was weird. Paul Skeens is very good. Like, I actually got to see him. I was in Pittsburgh last weekend, and I saw him pitch against the Phillies, and the Phillies also kind of rang it up against him. They won 6-0. I don't think he didn't give up all 6 runs, but he was not his best. Like, he gave up 3 runs in 5 or so innings. Like, it wasn't great. So that was weird. He's had a couple of starts that were not, vintage Paul Skeens, but he'll be fine. He's going to be fine. He generally dominates everybody. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think he's as untouchable as he was last year, but I think the Pirates being better this year, they're a game above 500. I think that certainly helps his case, and especially if he's able to get more wins, he's up to 6.
He's also so young, too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's basically a robot at this point. Just how efficient he is. But that's enough award talk. We're gonna, expand a little bit. We'll talk. We'll first start with a surprise pick to make a deep postseason run. Obviously it's pretty easy to pick the Dodgers to make the World Series like that. That's pretty given. But who is a team, whether on the AL side or the NL side, that you expect to make some noise in the postseason?
This is not really surprising, but I'm going to say the Padres, because their star players have not been very good. Fernando Tatis still does not have a home run, and it is May 23rd. That's not like him at all. Manny Machado, same thing. They really just have not. They have a couple. Jackson Merrill's been fine. Like, they have some other players who've been good. Their pitching has obviously been carrying them, and part of that is Mason Miller, because he is, if take away starters, he's the best pitcher in baseball. But like, that to me is very important, and you can't really think that Fernando Tatis will go much longer without hitting a home run, and these other guys won't be hitting well. They will figure it out eventually when you pair that with the pitching that they've had recently. Now they're 30-20 with these guys not playing that well. So if they can be 10 games over 500 with Fernando Tatis having a bad start to the season, it's it's a pretty good sign for what's to come once he breaks out of that slump. So I'll take them. They're pretty even. Their record with the Dodgers is pretty even right now. They're 30-20. The Padres are 30-20. Dodgers are 31-20. So I don't know if I'd say that they'll make the World Series over the Dodgers or over the Braves, also, who we can't really forget about, unfortunately. But I like the Padres. I mean, don't like them personally because they of the 2022 wild card, but that's 4 years ago. Doesn't matter.
I think that even though the Pirates are in that 6th seed, 5th seed, I think that just looking at their percent that, I think they could they'll get the wild card, and if they stay like that, right, they would.
Yeah.
And because look at all the other teams that are in 5th, the Mets, they're 400. Rockies are 300.
Yeah.
Orioles 400. Tigers 300, Angels 300,
Yeah.
and they're in 500, and they're in fifth.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy.
People are gonna consider like, oh, you were fifth, like that means nothing. They're like they have a better record than a lot of the teams in third.
Yeah.
So
And
like that's ridiculous. That
division
entire
is crazy.
division is gonna make some sort of run, and they're
Yeah.
all, like, when was the last time an entire division was like?
Doesn't usually happen. There's
No.
usually like sometimes you have 4 teams that are like with the NL West. It's usually that the top 4 teams are really good, and then you have the Rockies. Maybe not this year. The Giants are pretty bad too.
I think the entire division is gonna be impressive.
Make it interesting. Yeah. That also, it makes it so interesting for who's gonna, because the Cardinals, I think nobody really expected the Cardinals to be this interesting. They have a lot of great young guys, and I think they're really fun. The Cubs were great last season, so that's not really a surprise. Like, I didn't pencil in the Reds to be 500. Like,
I wouldn't have thought that the Pirates would be fifth in like. I thought that they'd be a lot better than some of those other teams.
Yeah. It's just that division is probably the most interesting in baseball, I'd say.
And not one like coming into the season that you thought was going to be
that
competitive.
No,
not at all.
Like you knew the Brewers were going to be
Yeah.
The favorites in that one, and the Cubs right behind them. But then, everyone else, the Reds, Pirates, and Cardinals, like you thought they were going to be in contention for bottom of the barrel basically.
Yeah.
You mentioned this team earlier in terms of what you like them doing. I think it's going to be the Athletics for me. I think they're a fun team to watch. They've got a lot of great players. Jacob Wilson, Kurtz. This pitching staff leaves a lot to be desired. Shea Langoliers is obviously quite good behind the dish for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they've got a really easy division. Seattle's really not been living up to anything. Houston's been pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Texas, mediocre as always, and then the Angels are just the Angels. But I think the Athletics have a great chance to run up the score, so to speak, in that division, maybe grab a couple of home series in the playoffs and really make some noise. And I don't think a lot of people coming into the season were expecting that. But now we'll go on to something, onto a title that really no one wants to have. What is a team that is in the playoff picture right now that will not make the playoffs?
Ooh, I have to think about that. Wow. I guess the Phillies are technically still alive. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because then they're going to be really good. I'm going to jinx myself. Probably the Diamondbacks. Like, they just don't inspire me. They're 26 and 24, which is fine. I mean, I'd like to be 26 and 24 right now, but they're not.
Not a lot.
Not stunning.
On that, yeah.
And they also, the NL is far tougher than the AL, as we were just saying. And, if you're one of the lesser NL teams making the playoffs, like, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult to make a deep run with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Brewers, the Cubs will toss in there, and the Braves. So whoever they face in the first round could knock them out pretty easily, but you never know.
Maggie, who is your pick to miss the playoffs?
To miss it. I kind of agree with you on the Diamondbacks there. I'm not talking into the mic. I kind of agree with you, Diamondbacks there. Maybe the Nationals, if the Mets can kind of get it together. We'll see.
I'm going to say, I'm going to stick in the NL. I'm going to say the Cubs.
Wow.
Won't make the playoffs. I know that's bold, but I think when you look at the division, look how competitive it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just going to have to play consistently great all the time, and I just don't think
I think that whole division
they have it in them.
Make it.
I mean, like,
with
say
the wild cards.
like PCA, I mean, obviously quite good on defense, not great with his bat. Alex Bregman really has not been good for the Cubs. He's someone that you wanted to step up. You just look at their roster right now. Ian Happ's been solid. Say Suzuki's been good, but then everyone else that you'd expect to be big contributors to the team. I mean, it's sort of like we were talking with the Mets.
Yeah,
it's like these are players that you're relying on that they all pretty much all need to be clicking in order for you to do well and to win games, and it doesn't feel like the Cubs have that right now. Obviously, I think they have a lot better of a rotation compared to the Mets, but it's also really not great. Imanaga is the best pitcher, and he's got a 3.4 ERA.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I also, who was I just gonna? Something about the Brewers, like every single year, they're very, very good. And last year, obviously, they went to the NLCS, which, I mean, they got swept, but you still made it, so that says something. I just am not clear on how they are still this good. Not, like, obviously, the Miz is incredible. Christian Yelich is still pretty, he's been hurt. They have some players that are pretty solid. I just don't really understand how they have one fewer win than the Dodgers. I don't think they'll make a deep run this year. I think there are teams in that division that are more interesting. Probably the Cubs, actually, funnily enough, I would say. I think the Cubs are more likely to. But I don't know. They just have always, like, mystified me. I don't really get how they're still that good. So
yeah, it's like that. They don't have any, really star players.
Right.
I mean, their pitching staff, you mentioned the Miz. I mean, he's just incredible. But then outside of that, not great. I mean, they just have good defense. They're pretty quick. They play the small ball, pretty well. But then I think really they're just like regular season merchants. Like they're really good in the regular season, but they just don't have enough firepower. Or I don't even know, like a clutch. I don't really know what the word to describe it is, but they just don't have enough in the postseason, and that's why they got swept.
Yeah, I like Bryce Terang a lot, and I like William Contreras. They've both been very good to start the season. I just don't think when you put them up against the other teams that we've mentioned in the National League, like I don't think that it really gives them much of a shot. But I could be wrong. They went to the NLCS last year, so
like I think if they face a team in like a 3-game series where you're just throwing all your best pitchers at the Brewers, I don't know if the Brewers could keep up. But I think in the regular season when you've got to go deep in your bullpen to just to make it through the week, I think that's where the Brewers really excel.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
And one final question, and it's got to be about the Dodgers. Are the Dodgers and are they inevitable? I mean, people are basically just shooing them into a third straight World Series title. They've looked a little bit vulnerable, but how can baseball fans hope that the Dodgers won't win another one? Like, is there something wrong with them that we can point out and be like, yeah, the Dodgers aren't going to win because of this reason?
I don't think it's inevitable, but I think they're so comfortable, in the postseason, and like they know they're the best and they have a confidence about them that it's just going to be hard to overtake that because they've just been there before so recently.
Yeah, they don't really have any. When you look at the team on paper, they don't have any spots that are like going to screw them over in the playoffs. There's nothing.
That should.
Yeah, there's nothing that obviously stands out to me like, oh, that could be an issue. It's not like they have something wrong in the bullpen. Bullpen's fine.
Like anything could happen.
Right.
But
the bats are probably not all gonna go cold at once because they have 3 former MVPs in the starting lineup, and then they have Andy Paz has been great. We haven't even mentioned him, and he was in the MVP conversation for the first few weeks, but like. They don't have any real problems. There's no thorns in their sides. Now, do I think that they're going to win 100 games? I don't know. They didn't win 100 games last year, and that didn't stop them from winning the World Series again. I don't think they won 111 games in 2022, which is obviously pretty much, that doesn't happen every year. That really is, it's very rare for a team to win over 110 games. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen this year, but like so far they have not really had any huge problems. They've had some series that maybe they weren't as great, but they have no problems. Unlike everybody else who has at least one, I think everyone else has at least like something that's like,
That's kind of why I feel like a sense of doom and despair when when I think about the Dodgers is that. Last season it was sort of the injuries that I was like, oh, maybe the Dodgers won't be able to do anything because their pitching staff is all banged up or something like that. But like they've had no such issues. I mean, maybe the silver lining is that they haven't run away with the NL West and that it looks like, with the Padres, like you mentioned, I mean, their stars aren't clicking, but maybe once they do, the Pods will be able to, to push them pretty much all the way into September, and maybe that drains the Dodgers a bit, but it just feels like this is a team that maybe isn't necessarily built to go win, 110 regular season games, but is built to go into the postseason and just bulldoze, whatever team they faced.
Yeah, if it's any team that's like, as we were saying, like there's some teams that might sneak into the playoffs that maybe we're like not, super confident in, they're going to run those teams over. Like that's just how it's how that lineup is, how the pitching staff is. It seems like the Dodgers, whenever they bring up a new pitcher or someone has to, someone gets hurt, someone gets called up, that pitcher seems to be fine as soon as they get here, which doesn't really make any logical sense at all. Yeah. But that's just how it is. So I think they'll probably at least go to the World Series. Maybe it'll be Dodgers Yankees again. That actually, I feel like that.
Yeah, I think
I could see that absolutely.
Yeah. If it's that though, I think the Yankees win.
That is.
I think they have a better shot this year than 2024.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's fair. That's fair. But I think that is going to do it for us here talking baseball. Thank you so much to Grace for joining us and chipping in your great vat of knowledge when it comes to Mets baseball. Hopefully they do a little bit better, and Yankees fans do not press the panic button. There's still a lot of games left. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we're going to talk a little bit of the Indy 500, and we'll be joined by our very own sports director, Bobby Chaffardini. Do not go anywhere. You're listening to One on One.
It's WFUV New York, member-supported public media from Fordham University. On air, online, and always commercial-free.
Hi soccer fans, Sam Giangrande here, your NYCFC beat reporter for the 2026 season, bringing all the soccer news here to WFUV. From Major League Soccer to the international stage, follow my X page at SamGGWFUV to see moments from each game and interviews with your favorite players and managers. From Yankee Stadium and Citi Field to the road of Etihad Park, follow me to see if New York City can get their second star.
Welcome back inside the Rose Hill studio here on the campus of Fordham University in the Bronx, New York. We're joined back again by Travis Hayden, and we're going to talk a little bit of Indy 500. The Indy 500 is taking place tomorrow. The greatest spectacle in racing is set to start at 12:45 with Alex Palou starting on pole position. I don't know a ton about the Indy 500, but thankfully we are joined by an expert in WFUV in Indy 500 racing, Bobby Chaffardini, our sports director. Bobby, how are you doing today?
Thomas, doing great. Welcome to the racing capital of the world. This is always my favorite time of the year. You can hear the cars in the background. Super excited to be joining you from Speedway, Indiana, where the greatest spectacle in racing is about to be upon us tomorrow.
What is the biggest storyline heading into this year's race that, the average viewer can follow and, root for?
Well, there's always a ton of storylines when you have 33 drivers that are in the race. You mentioned Alex Palou. He's been simply untouchable in the IndyCar series. You can make a serious case, Thomas, that he might be the best racing driver in the world right now, and that includes some of the top-notch talent, of course, in Formula One. If I was to give you an equivalent on the F1 side, he's been as dominant in this series as, say, Max Verstappen has been in the F1 series. So he won pole, of course, for the race. He won last year. He'll look to try to repeat in the Indy 500 again tomorrow. So he's definitely one of the top trending stories, but there are so many terrific drivers in the race. Typically, historically, a lot of times the winner will come from one of the first 3 or 4 rows. So I'm looking for drivers like David Malukas, who's starting third tomorrow for Penske. This is his first year there. He's actually never won an IndyCar race in his life. Still a young driver, only his 4th start in the Indy 500. So he's a serious contender in the front row. And then you've got Alexander Rossi, who actually won this race 10 years ago in the 100th running in 2016. This will be his 11th start. He's starting second behind Alex Palou on that front row, and he's a serious contender. He actually had a big crash on Monday in practice, so he had some surgery just a couple of days ago, an ankle and a hand injury as well, and he'll be looking to kind of bounce back from that. But I would expect to see him running, of course, up front and be another contender to win the 500 again. This is a race that's so difficult to win, Thomas. Many times someone will win it once, and they'll never win it again. You look at someone like Mario Andretti, the great race car driver. He only won the Indy 500 once in his career.
Wow. Hi, Bobby. It's Maggie. I wanted to ask you, which driver or team looks stronger in practice than people might have expected?
Yeah, so I mentioned a couple of the names so far. You know, yesterday, Maggie, Joseph Newgarden, who actually won this race back-to-back years, 2 years ago, right before Alex Palou, of course, won last year. He was running really strong, fastest driver in practice. He's somebody that is in the middle of the pack, but I would expect him, of course, to be a contender. But I was really looking at someone like Connor Daly, who's another terrific story. He's a local kid, and he has a serious chance to win this race. He's had good cars in the past, but you can make a case that this has actually been the best car that he's ever had. So he's in the top 10. I would expect him to be really good tomorrow in the Indy 500.
Hey, Bobby, it's Travis over here. I wanted to ask you just about your love for IndyCar racing originally. Where did that start from? Because it's something we mostly don't hear about as much at WFUV unless it's through you. Where did your love of IndyCar come from, and how many of these events now have you been covering, and what number Indy 500 is this for you?
Great questions, Travis, and so great to have you all asking me questions about IndyCar because, again, of course, my passion for this series is incredible. You know, Travis, for me, when I was a kid, you know, I know a lot of kids from the Bronx probably not as big into racing, but I was just mesmerized the very, very first time that I got a chance to watch it on television. And I remember my mom being kind of perplexed by the whole thing because in our household, it definitely was basketball, baseball, football, the traditional, you know, the four major sports, as we typically call it in the NYC, and definitely stick and ball sports in the Northeast. But the very first time as a little kid watching it on TV and actually hearing the great announcer Paul Page announce the Indy 500, I was just simply hooked on it. And I knew that someday I would get a chance to come and see it live. The very first one for me was 2015. So to answer your question, Travis, I've been coming religiously since 2015 and covering the series pretty much ever since then. And it's been great to be able to kind of bring a look at racing and the Indy 500 to WFUV.
That is very amazing to hear because mostly here with WFUV and especially in the Bronx, it always the sticks. And you know me with fighting, I always love something different, and it is good to know, good to learn, especially more about motorsports. And something else I wanted to ask is what makes this year different compared to some of maybe the other years you've covered already before.
Another great question. You know, I wanted to make this one note because I know in the past when we've had me on live from the Indy 500, I always make a big deal about how big the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is, which it absolutely is. I mean, anytime that you're going to have a race that's 500 miles, 200 laps, and the track itself is 2.5 miles of an oval, right? The size of this place is just ginormous. But I wanted to put into perspective just simply how big the crowd is for the Indy 500, right? This is annually the largest single-day sporting event, not just in the country, but on Earth. There are going to be 350,000 people here tomorrow for the Indy 500. Think about that. You know, you talk about football games or baseball games that traditionally draw 50,000, 55,000, maybe 80,000 people. To put it into context, that's more people than the entire population of about 35 actual countries. The current population of the U.S. is about 340 million, which means that 1 in 1,000 residents of the United States are attending the Indy 500. So think about that. 1 in 1,000 people will be here tomorrow for the Indy 500.
1 in 1,000 is an absolutely insane number. And how to watch the Indy 500? What viewership channels is it on again?
I didn't catch that.
To view the Indy 500 on television.
So Fox is the big sponsor, of course. Over the years, it had been different places to watch. ABC, NBC, but now Fox is where you can tune in. Fox Sports.
You mentioned earlier about how difficult it is just to straight up win the Indy 500, but then also to repeat and how it's rarely done. What distinguishes the Indy 500 compared to other IndyCar races? And then particularly, what is the mental aspect required to really to win this race, especially in those final laps?
Also great questions too, Thomas. I mean, to me, I think of it from a fan's perspective, just how much of a simulation overload it kind of is. And I have to think it's got to be the same for the drivers themselves, right? Just the endurance of having to do 500 miles, 200 laps, but then also the fact that you have the world watching and all of these fans, and just the build up to this race, the fact that it's just once a year. So you add in all of those factors, and I do think that a lot of times when it comes to talking about race car drivers, they're not given enough credit for being athletes. And they really, really are. I mean, to be able to go around this track at roughly 230, 240 miles an hour, and to be doing that for essentially what's going to be 3 hours. Typically, the race takes about 3 hours. That's a lot of G-forces on somebody's body over the course of that 3 hours. So they've got to be very fit to do this. And I think they should be given more credit as the great athletes that they are to be race car drivers.
You touched a little bit on some younger racers, but what rookie specifically has impressed you the most this month?
Yeah, Mick Schumacher, of course, the son of the great F1 legend Michael Schumacher. This is his first year in the IndyCar Series. He's someone that has really taken, I think, pretty well to the IndyCar Series. I've been impressed by him. He's someone that I think I would look out for. He would, of course, be another one of these great stories. And I'll be rooting for him. I think when it comes to answering the question that you guys just asked about the pole, right? In the past, in the very beginning of the Indy 500 in terms of history, a lot of times the pole winner, meaning, of course, the first driver to start on the grid, that person typically would win the race. They would get out in front, maybe be able to kind of hold people off throughout that time. But now, historically, it really hasn't been the case. The last person to win from pole was Simon Pagenaud in 2019. So it's been a few years. And even though Alex Palou won last year, he didn't win the pole last year. He was up front on the front row, but he did not win the pole last year. So it's hard to say if you had to pick just one driver, because, again, there are 33. Palou would be the logical choice because he is the defending champion. He's been so great in the series. But, again, a lot of times the winner is going to come from probably one of those first 3 or 4 rows. It's very difficult to win this race from the back of the race, but there are some really great veteran drivers like Elio Castro Neves, who has won 4 Indy 500s, looking for a record 5th. Someone like Joseph Newgarden, who's won 2, as I mentioned before. And then even Takuma Sato back in this race, another one of the veterans who's won 2 Indy 500s. So the rookies will have their work cut out for them. Typically in this race, a lot of times it is very difficult to win as a rookie. Alexander Rossi in 2016 was one of the few rookies to win the Indy 500. A lot of times, typically how it has been is that a driver's had to do this a few times before they win their first Indy 500. For example, Alex Palou was in his 6th start when he won last year in the Indy 500. And then someone like Marcus Ericsson was in their 4th start in 2022 when he won the Indy 500. That's why I was looking at someone like David Malukas now in his 4th start. He would really be a strong contender with Team Penske, a great team, and on the front row, which also helps too.
Hey, Bobby. Throughout your history of watching the Indy 500 and covering it, who were some of the very surprising winners? Like, where some years where you've given us a list of names, and were there some years where the name was maybe no one you thought of, and could that also be the case this year?
Yeah, I mean, Alexander Rossi definitely is the first one that pops into my mind because that was my second Indy 500 experience. He was a rookie that was coming over from Formula One, really had done very, very little IndyCar. He was a no-name at the time, someone that was not projected to win at all, and he came out of nowhere to win the race. So, again, it could happen. I think that's the beauty of having 33 drivers and such a prolific event to watch. For me, I think in the 11 years of being around IMS, that one would definitely be one that stood out the most. And it was great to see someone like Joseph Newgarden, who took him actually more than a decade to win his first race. So sometimes, you get a chance to see a driver that's been banging the drum for a long time to try to win their first 500. And that's also rewarding as well.
Any sleepers on that front end for tomorrow or for tomorrow?
Well, sleepers, it's tough to say if you would call someone like Connor Daly a sleeper again because he is a local kid. He's had some pretty good success in this race. He would be someone that I think the place, of course, would erupt if he was to win. I mean, grew up in the shadows pretty much of IMS. And he's got, he's been here before where he's been a full-time driver, but he's also been here before where he's been a one-off entry. So I mentioned some of the veteran drivers like Elio Castro-Neves. He is no longer a full-time driver in the series. He literally is only driving in the Indy 500 this year. So you have some drivers that kind of come back and they try their best to, let's say win a 500 as a single program. So it'll be interesting to see. You have drivers that are competing for all the races, but then you have some that are one-off entries. And Connor Daly, I think, would be a huge story if he was able to win, because anytime you can have the local kid win the biggest race in the world, that would be a huge headline.
One final question for you, Bobby, before we let you go. If you had to pick one driver to take home the Indy 500 tomorrow, who would it be and why?
You know what? I think in terms of nostalgia, just because we've been talking about it here on the show so far, I would have to say Alexander Rossi, because I was here in 2018, 2019 when he also ran up front but didn't win his second race. After watching him win in 2016, I had been at other races covering the series and had seen him win, including at Watkins Glen, which, of course, is in upstate New York. They no longer run the IndyCar series there. He was a driver that really started off very strong those first couple of years when he was with Andretti, and now it's with ECR. And it's been 10 years since he's really had that kind of impact in the series. So I was very happy to see him running second in the Indy 500 in terms of qualifications. So he would be a great story, especially after the crash. I know he's a fan favorite. He would be someone that I would look out for. And in terms of the nostalgia of being here in 2016 and having him win for the 100th, I think it would be great to see him win again. And I just wanted to point out, just because I thought it was also a really cool, let's say, anecdote in terms of the show, the live coverage on WFUV in the past has also won awards. So in 2024, we won an award for this same segment from the New York State Broadcasters Association for Best Live on the Scene. And even though it's a little bit of humble bragging and some self-promotion here, guys, coming into today, I was a finalist for the on-air presenter for the Society of Professional Motorsports Journalists, which is actually headed up by that great announcer, Paul Page, that I mentioned. Unfortunately, I did not win. I was also a finalist for Writer of the Year, which I think is pretty exciting for some of the work that I do in terms of coverages with the series. But, it's always been great to come here and kind of shed some light on such an amazing event and hopefully be able to educate not just our fans at home about something that maybe they're not aware of, but also kind of teach you guys, too, a little bit about IndyCar racing. And the hope would be that someday could bring WFUV one-on-one here to Indianapolis for a full live show. That would be the dream for me.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. We appreciate you for joining us, Bobby, and congratulations on your 2 nominations. The Indy 500, as I mentioned, green flag will be dropped at 12:45 p.m. tomorrow, and we're looking forward to a great race. Thank you so much to Bobby for joining us and telling us a little bit more about the Indy 500. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some soccer talk. We'll be talking about Maggie's Arsenal taking home the Premier League title as well as their chances in the Champions League. So do not go anywhere. You're listening to One on One on WFUV Sports.
University of Phoenix is built for
Want to be part of the Ramley? It all starts here. I'm Nathan Rogers.
And I'm Kate Cox, and we are two of your hosts for On the Hill, WFUV's exclusive podcast for all things Fordham athletics.
From the field of Moglia Stadium to the hardwood of the historic Rose Hill Gym, we've got you covered with the ins and outs of Fordham sports.
Every week, every play, every round. Tune in weekly wherever you get your podcasts. This is On the Hill.
Welcome back inside the Rose Hill studio here at Fordham University, but we're going to go across the pond. We've been talking a lot of American sports, of course, the Indy 500, the NBA playoffs, and the MLB season, but, it's finally time to give soccer some love, and we'll start with Arsenal taking home the Premier League title. Man City's draw against Bournemouth on Wednesday, 1-1 means that Arsenal are officially Premier League champions. It's been a long time coming for the Gunners, but Maggie, I'm just going to let you have the floor with this one and go on your little rant.
I can't even believe it. Like I am not a casual fan about Arsenal. Let me put that out there. Like, Arsenal is everything to me. And so I love these players. I've always been a Mikel Arteta person. I love Mikel. I think he, when it's all said and done, is going to be a massive name in coaching, and he's so young. And to do what he did and take this club from, it was nothing. Like, it was a disaster.
It was a 16-year-old Bukayo Saka in a checkbook.
Yeah, that's what I always say. That's my saying. It's what he was given, and by the Kroenkes. And yeah, he just again took Bukayo Saka and just went and built this just formidable team in his own way. Say whatever you want, call it whatever you want, it wins. So, it's just incredible, and they deserve it. And I think it's a group of such humble players and just a great manager. And I truly believe it's going to be the start of something.
I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to the point where there's an Mikel Arteta stand at the Emirates. Like, if there was a bet on that, I would 100% put that. Because I think especially just for how long he stayed there, he could have, I think, easily left and gotten a top job anywhere else at a team that wins trophies at a more consistent rate. I think he could have went to any Prem team, gotten the job. Any team, say Italy, Spain, he would have gotten the job. Yeah. So I think as well, the players love him. They adore him as a coach. I think out of all the top teams in the world, he's up there for like relations with the players and the manager.
And I think at times we've talked about this, like appealing to players, and something that bothered me as a fan was putting Kepa in goal, and not giving us the best chance to win the Carabao Cup. And it is because he is so loyal to his players, maybe to a fault. I mean, I think that could be what has hurt us in the past. I think when you think of Pep, when you think of coaches like that, they're ruthless. And I did have doubts that do you need to be with this, and I think that I was wrong. I think the answer is no. I think that he has done this his own way, and he was given, and it comes with ownership, that they backed him. And I mean, he was 38 when he came to Arsenal. Like, he could have still been playing pretty much, like, and so I think that to put that trust in him, and for all these players to put that trust in him, and no one has ever said, even like Granit Zaha, who was such a staple at our club for so long, like, even though he wasn't able to stay at Arsenal and he's now at Sunderland, like, his message was, no one deserves this more than Mikel, and like, he is an amazing person, amazing coach, and I hope that, you know, I think that he is going to be a generational coach when all is said and done, especially having this success so early. And I just hope that he stays at Arsenal, because I don't
see him going anywhere else.
Honestly, he loves it. He loves it. The fans, like, he has turned this club around. We used to be called Sunday Service, is what the Emirates used to be called, because it just wasn't. And there has never been a reception in England the way that reception was for the second leg of the semifinal. That was unreal. Outside the Emirates with the buses, it looked like you were in Madrid. Like, it was unreal that and then outside the Emirates on Tuesday was just, the scenes were incredible. And the club has a culture. It's done so much for certain communities and people in North London that I think sometimes gets lost. And I think, like Liverpool, it has been a representation of communities, and there has been so many people that have wanted this for so long, and the culture of the club really is there. It exists, and it exists globally, but especially obviously in North London, and I think that this could be the start of something really, really great.
I think it is. I think a lot of people now as well. The biggest reason why some of these top players didn't go to Arsenal was because I want to win a title, but now they're in the Champions League final. They were in the semifinal last year. They won the Prem this year, got second 3 times in a row before. Which
is what Arsene Wenger, when he won, it was second, first.
So at this point, it kind of becomes where City hasn't won a title. They won back-to-back. They didn't win it. At this point, it now kind of becomes...
I think the City dynasty's over. I think that Man United is going to rise. I think Liverpool they need to figure some things out, especially with Mo leaving, and, you know, it's up to them to how fast they change over. But that Man City dynasty is done. It started and ended with Pep. There's no Man City dynasty without Pep. Like, I just don't think that. And I also don't think that they have the quality of players in it anymore. I don't see Haaland probably staying. I don't know if that's next year or he's not getting he's not gonna get another he's not taking another contract. So whether it's the end of this contract or he leaves, I don't know. But I think that's done. I think Man United, you know, it might be a revival of that old United Arsenal at the top, and I'd be here for that. I would much personally rather go head to head with United. I respect them more as a club. I think it's not wrong to say that Man City has gotten where they are with, you know, not the
most ethical
ways. And United, I think, United obviously has a huge culture, and our fans versus their fans, it's like going against another culture club that I don't think Man City has. I mean, we talked about it when their trouble happened. They had 200,000 people. I think over 1 million are being anticipated for in North London on Monday. In two Mondays. And I think the clubs with the culture in the Prem are Liverpool, United, and Arsenal. I think Chelsea's got it, but I think those three are the top.
I do agree with that. It's kind of reflecting the Prem days of like the late 2000s, where it was, as you said, United and Arsenal were like the two top. Chelsea kind of that dark horse team where they had 2 successful seasons in Europe. They
beat us that one day.
Yeah, they had
the ending day.
Like out of the 3, like Chelsea had like 3 Premier League titles during that era. Mm-hmm. No, 4, correct? 4 titles. It's reflecting that. It's reflecting like the early 2000s, whereas United, Arsenal, 2 big dark horses. Liverpool was, I would say, inconsistent at that time, and then Chelsea was the dark horses, and City.
City were never up there.
Were never a considered team. If this does happen with I think Pep leaving, more people don't realize players leave when a manager leaves, like Pep. When he's there for so long.
100%. There's no Holland without Pep.
I think he's gone within 1-2 seasons.
I think that it's all very dependent on what we suspect is going to happen.
I think if Maresca has success early on, I think Holland stays. But I think if
I don't think they can. I think that they're going to get hit.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that for 5 years now about how.
Believe me, I mean, Liverpool and Arsenal are the ones that have been at the ones that have suffered at the hand of
even
it.
United with the season with Oli, all the teams really besides Chelsea have suffered because of this, and I think Pep knows why he's leaving. He wouldn't leave just
a year early.
Yeah, he wouldn't leave just because, especially with a losing streak or a losing end. If you say he's not a losing type of manager. He wants to go out with success. And it was a lot of players were shocked. I think people were confused, why is Holland shocked? Why is Bernardo Silva shocked seeing this until because on the players' side they thought that he was going to say they had no reason to think he was going to leave.
Which in my
no one
opinion,
expected Klopp to leave. Right?
But it's different in the sense of he left because he's not even coaching right now. Pep, there's one reason why he's leaving.
What job is Pep going to take?
Italy.
I think Italy. I've been saying that for a while. I think he's.
I don't think there's enough money in Italy for him to.
It's not about money, really.
Is he jumping?
No,
ship?
I mean not to pay him.
I think he's jumping.
To buy
to have him
to
as
buy players.
Yeah. No.
No. I'm saying the Italian national team, not club.
I see.
He's been rumored to want to bring glory back to the Italian national team for a while.
But I think what bothers me is he's jumping ship for something, and just take it and live take it into your contract out. It. If it happens and and he did jump ship, I think it doesn't obviously take away from anything he's done, but it puts a stain on him.
I think it does as well, especially with people. I think now the debate of who's the greatest manager, I feel like Pep has gone down more as time goes on when people realize the only teams he managed was Barcelona when he had the greatest team of all time, Bayern Munich, which he couldn't win the Champions League with, and then Man City when he had infinite money.
But then how else do you compare
Arteta,
managers?
who built it?
No, I'm not. That's too early now. If I'm saying the greatest managers, it's between Sir Alex Ferguson or Mourinho for me. Easily, what Mourinho has done with clubs is incredible.
Yeah.
When I think of this is a little off topic. When I think of the greatest manager, it has to be someone who can bring okay teams or losing teams to winners. He did it. Champions League with Porto, I think, is easily the greatest feat, managerial feat ever.
You can't inherit something.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
But I don't think Pep inherited a good City team. I understand he bought a bunch of players, but that still takes a we've seen it with Chelsea where
money.
But we've seen it with Chelsea
they're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes a certain pedigree of a manager to be
right.
No, this
but
is the culture
if we
we're
talk
instilling.
about it, but it puts a stain on it because he did it unethically.
Yeah.
I mean, Arteta still has spent a bunch of money.
It's not about spending money.
It's all ethical. It's you break.
That's not Pep's fault. That the money that they get
he knows that though.
Yes, it is.
So what is he? I mean, what is he
he's
supposed to do?
unfortunately at the face of that. He's at the face of that.
He's spending money the club does not earn. Plain and simple. It's 150 times they've been proven the club's spending money.
I don't think Arsenal has earned $1 billion. It's clearly coming from Kroenke. It's coming from wealthy owners.
But it's all public. If it comes out that it wasn't ethical, then it wasn't ethical. It's a stain on Mikel. But if it's all published and done it the right way,
I'm not trying to say that City is some ethical just because because
Chester City.
It's pretty clear that they have been handling money improperly, but I just don't think that blame is on Pep.
I'm not saying it's on Pep, but I think it does.
I don't think he committed the crime, but he knew about it.
It's not him saying oh hey, let's spend this much money, we ain't earning this. It's not him saying that. It's he's been giving 3 teams where they were easily either the best in the world or had the best opportunities for him. Like, Pep wouldn't leave to go to Fenerbahce in Turkey. He wouldn't leave to go to Roma. I don't think he wouldn't take a team where he knew he had any real risk.
And, like, listen, I'm biased. Mikel's young. We're not talking about manager of all time conversations right now. We're talking about modern managers in modern day in the modern game. He left a City team that was so dominant as a young guy, stuck his neck out for this Arsenal job, and inherited nothing. Yeah, he spent a lot of money, but as we know, he did it ethically. He did it he played by the rules. And so went from, like, I don't know. I just think that, like, and we're talking about modern managers not inheriting teams.
I just don't see.
I think he's the most in demand manager right now. He's not going anywhere. But
I think he's one of the most demand. I think
anyone would take Arteta.
Oh no, definitely.
Well, yeah.
I think he's
not going anywhere.
Oh, definitely not. I would be beyond shocked if he left anywhere.
No, he loves it. He loves Arsenal.
But you have to, like, the thing with Pep is that what risk has he really taken with his career?
None.
So what was he supposed
Italy
to
would be a risk if he took
it
that.
Would be. It definitely would be a risk, and I think.
And I'd respect him.
I
would
too. Okay. I think it would be good if he went to, like, a real challenge. But think of Mourinho, like, Inter, in my opinion, were a challenge at that point when you had AC Milan was so dominant in that era. Like, Inter, and they won the treble. Like, that was a risk. Porto was a risk. United at that time was a risk. He won 3 trophies with them. Like, Pep has never once showed, okay, I'm going to do something where I show why my ability as a manager is going to help us win titles, when Mourinho has done that.
Where if he stayed at City and they get punished and then he wants to, and he's with them when they're mid-table and brings them back to top, like, he's leaving a hard situation. He's leaving because he can't be the best. And that, to me, is glory chasing.
I agree though. Like, Pep, like, and also he plays some of the most boring football. He takes exciting players.
I think recently he's played boring football, but I don't think
exciting players like Grealish into running up and passing back and just trying to get one player into the box. Like, Grealish went from being one of the most exciting players to watch, even though
he ruined Grealish.
Definitely, Grealish was even like oh my god, he's an incredible player. Like, he's like your winger who's tearing everyone up, but he was exciting to watch and people loved him for that. And then it became run
Grealish.
Forward, pass back, and that's all it really was. Like, you give anyone the Man City squad that Pep had, I want to say his treble season, it's not the manager who's winning that title, like, at all, in my opinion. It's not. Same thing with, like, I would say the sextuple with Barcelona. Yes, that's beyond impressive. But winning the Champions League with that Barcelona team, you have the best players in the world.
It's expected.
You can put anyone in that team. Yeah, and same thing with Bayern. He failed at Bayern because he couldn't win the Champions League. He had the biggest team in Germany. He had one of the biggest teams in Europe, and he couldn't make it to the Champions League. So he failed at Bayern just blatantly because of that. Like, I don't see Pep as, like, he is the best because he couldn't win. His goal was to win the Champions League at Bayern. He couldn't do it. He did it with City, but now it's so many allegations are coming out. And then for Barcelona, he had the best team in the world. So,
but I think he built them into the best team. Like, you can't just can't just throw a bunch of beavers and expect the Hoover Dam. Someone's got to build the blueprints to build, like.
Definitely, but at the same time, like, Messi was well known, obviously. Like, he did bring in, like, Neymar, Suarez. Like, he did bring in players. And I would say, if anything,
I think that more they wanted to play with Messi and go to Barcelona than Pep. They wanted to go.
But
to
I
Pep.
would say more like the second Champions League was more impressive than the first. Like, the first one, he already had a lot of good players. Like, the next one, he still had, like, a lot of the same team, but it was more like, this is Pep's Barcelona than this is Pep at Barcelona. Like, I think the second Champions League was more, this is my team than the first. When more people think, like, oh, Pep's, like, 2011 Barcelona was scary, but was it really his team? Like, how many new signings did he really make for that Barcelona team?
I mean, I see your point, and I respect it. I mean, I disagree, but I think that is going to do it for us talking about Arsenal and Pep. We're going to take a very brief break, and then we're going to preview the World Cup, which is just only a few weeks away. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to One on One on WFUV Sports.
– I'm Isabella Terracini.
And I'm Barrett Spreitzer. We're two of your hosts for College Gridiron, the exclusive home for all things college football on WFUV Sports.
Join us as we break down the biggest matchups of the week, Heisman hopefuls, and college football playoff previews.
Listen in on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And we welcome you back after a very lively segment talking about Arsenal, about Man City's dirty money, and about Pep and his pedigree as a manager and where he stacks up among the greats. It's now time to turn our focus on to the World Cup, which is about 3 weeks away. I'm going to be honest, like, with it being 3 weeks away, I haven't really felt the hype for the World Cup yet that I've normally felt, and I'm not sure why.
For me, I am so excited, but I am not. I got bigger things on my mind first. I'm not. That's post Champions League.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Okay.
I'm still in club. I am not out of club yet. But once that's over, whatever way it goes, and the parade is done and dusted, I am all in. I am so beyond excited.
I think the biggest thing, and I was saying this to my dad, who's not the biggest soccer person. He knows stuff, but it's not. He's very active in it. But I think the thing with this is that how big the tournament is. It's like we can't really, like, we understand how big the United States is. We live here. Like, if you compare the size of the United States coast to coast, it's roughly from Portugal to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, it's that big. The United States is huge. The European mind doesn't comprehend that, like,
you can't cross I-95 on foot.
Like, I saw someone do it, though. It was kind of crazy. It was like a 17-mile walk, but, like, the European mind doesn't comprehend. Imagine the World Cup one year, or, like, say, for when it's in 2030, the 100th year anniversary of it. Imagine if it was all over Europe. If it was every country had a stadium, like, where they were represented.
But it was in Russia.
Yes, but the thing with Russia is that it's all on. I always have to do that.
Yeah.
It's on the west side of Russia, where it's right on, like.
They were all like in the same place.
Yeah. It's all the all that general area. And same thing with, like, when it was South Korea, Japan. There's very close, and South Korea's a very small countries. Japan, where they had the games, was a very condensed area. People don't realize that this is basically if Europe doing the tournament, and it was across all Europe. Like, the United States is just that big, and they don't comprehend, like, for us, one state is roughly the size of a European country. Like, people don't really realize that, and I think that's kind of why, like, the United States has so much metro areas, but if you're not there,
it's not a hub, and, like, there's so many different places and so many different cultures and so many different, hot spots for soccer and dry spots for soccer, and so many people that you have to get on board, where it's like, if we're in England, every single person is more than aware that the World Cup is happening, where every match is, everyone's on board. It's not like a small condensed place where, like, it's a little bit everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it just feels like, there's so much noise surrounding the World Cup, but not actually excitement about the World Cup. Like, the main thing has been, like, ticket prices and how fans are getting to the games.
I think that they've outpriced fans, and I don't think that the turnout is going to be what they expect, because can't get in.
I think what's going to happen, this happens for so many events, mostly in the United States, when you have so much money in resellers and, like, all of this, they kind of realize, I'm saying this once again to my dad, like, when it comes to buying tickets to games, after the first weekend, when they realize people are not going to spend $1,000 for nosebleeds, people are not going to spend $600 to be at the top of the stadium, they just have to drop prices. Like, I think, and I think more in the sense of it's a mix of the reseller culture of the United States, but also the base prices that FIFA put out for this tournament. Like, you're going to see prices are just going to go naturally down when people see that. Yeah, there's some people are just going to say, like, well, I kind of wanted to go, but it's too expensive. I'm not going to go. People rather make some money back than none. And I do think they are going to go down. I'm not going to say to the levels how they usually should be. It's not going to be like you're getting, like, under $100 tickets, but I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes same thing with the Club World Cup. I really wanted to see Chelsea for one of the games, and it was like over $500 for nosebleeds, and then I waited the week of. I got 200. I spent 200 for the bottom section of the second row.
Yeah.
Like, it becomes the more. I wouldn't, like, if I had to give my own advice, if you really, really want to go, the best option, buy tickets to one game, and if you want to do more, see if it goes down. If it goes down, sucks, you overpaid a little, but you can go to more. If it goes up, you did it right. But it's kind of like gambling. It's really up in the air. Like, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down like the stock market? But I think people are going to realize there's like over 100 games. There's going to be some of these games where people, they're not going to buy all the tickets, and then it's going to be like, okay, well, you have to sell these at like one point. We have to resellers realize they want to make money. They're not going to take. You rather take something than zero. So I think it's going to go down.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the issue is that like those first games, like not being sold out, I think that's just going to dampen the mood a lot.
I think it will. Yeah.
Like the U.S.
and the players aren't expecting that.
Like the U.S. home opener I should say is against Paraguay in L.A. Still hasn't been sold out yet. Tickets are like $500 plus. And while we're talking about the U.S. men's national team, what are we feeling like vibes wise heading into this one? Like how far realistically can this team
it's
go?
Not the vibes of 2022. I think like
No.
The worst vibes, better vibes.
No, there's so many now. Like they're all going down injured right now, which is
it doesn't really feel like
weird.
a team. Like they don't feel like. I think as well. One thing is because there's barely a break between club soccer and now. I think when we see the videos coming out of all the national teams at their training camps, like these teams still aren't even at their training camps. I think when the videos drop of like all the teams going into the country, like think about. I feel like the Olympics was another similar one where people were like, "Oh, okay, it's like it's an Olympic year," but when they saw LeBron waving the like American flag, like I don't even care for basketball. I got goosebumps. I'm so for real. Like I was like, "That's
LeBron and Coco on the top of the ship with the two of them, and it was like looked like they were crossing the Delaware."
Oh my god, that's the thing. Like back in 2022,
that picture is one of the coolest pictures ever. Just so many American athletes, and you have LeBron, and you have Coco Gauff, and then you have
that was so cool. So cool. But I think similar things are going to happen when we get the teams actually in the country. Because think about in 2022 when we figured out it was to be England and the United States. Like it was like a not third war. It was like a second American Revolution. Like people were so hyped from this matchup. I think when the players are actually in the United States, when they are here and they're at their training camps, and we see the videos and the press like showing pictures and videos of them all being together, that's really when the hype's going to come around. Because you can't really get excited for something when the biggest piece isn't here. The players aren't here yet.
Okay.
So when the players are here, when we see these people like at their Airbnbs walking around the city, when you see a parade of, let's say, Senegalese fans going to MetLife to play against France, we'll feel that hype, but we're not going to see it until the players get here.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I mean, the U.S. team's not been assembled yet, but looking at their group, they've got Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. Turkey probably the hardest one out of that. But this should get through handily. The question is, how far after that can they possibly
I think
go?
a success is a quarterfinal. I think so. I think anything before where majority of the tournaments in the United States, like
I
yes,
agree.
it's Canada, Mexico, but 90% of the games are here. If the U.S. don't get to the quarterfinals, it's nothing really to celebrate. That's just my take.
I agree.
I mean, to be fair, they haven't made the quarterfinals since 2002 against Germany.
I don't think they will, but I don't think in the nicest possible people will care if they like to soccer fans, round of 16 would be pretty like that would be good. But I think the casual fan is not gonna spark their ears unless it has final in the name. Right? Quarterfinal, semifinal.
I actually didn't think about that. I agree. Like, they made it to the round of 16 in 2022. No one really was like, ooh. I think if they hit the quarterfinals, it's this team's contending. It shows why they're a top 15 FIFA-ranked team. So, I agree. Like, that's a pretty good analogy. Like, saying if they're in part of the finals, it's like they really did succeed in this tournament.
I mean, we've established that the U.S. not going to bring home the trophy, but let's talk about some of the teams that maybe could. And I think it's really, in my eyes, it's three teams. It's England, France and Spain.
2 World Wars and 1 World Cup. I think England's gonna win. Like, I've been saying this for a while. I think I'm not even like the biggest England. Like, it'd be really cool to see like England win. It's just I think, and I always say this, I think it's because of Harry Kane. I legitimately think he's the most ruthless player in the world. People fear him. People fear. Yeah, 100%. People fear that Bayern team. Even though they lost at PSG, just think of that front three: Kane, Elise, Luis Diaz.
Unstoppable.
I was most scared of Harry Kane. Elise, like as like playmaker.
I wasn't scared of any of them.
Well, even as just not saying scared.
I'd rather play Bayern than PSG in a week. Personally,
it's such a hard matchup to say like, who would be like.
Because
this is the better team to play against. It's so hard to say.
Yeah.
So your pick is England.
I think it's gonna be an England. I don't know. It's so hard to say who's.
I've just seen the England-Spain matchup so many times because if you think like the women's Euros, the men's Euros, the women's World Cup, like I'm so sick of England-Spain. Even like Arsenal-Barcelona women's Champions League, like England-Spain, enough. Like I would like an England-France-England win. I had Brazil like going far, but once before their thing came out,
they have a weird squad. Like,
I still think they could. I think that we're gonna see Portugal go far. Brazil's gonna go far.
I don't know about
Portugal, Brazil, France, Spain, England.
It's really all like.
I
think this is different from 2022, where a lot of those squads lacked identity. I think this year, a lot of these squads they're refined. Like France's squad, this is a refined squad. They are a scary team.
England is frightening.
And I think it helps that it's in like
so
the actual
solidified.
Like I agree, like England, like you think about
the names on that team,
and it's not like we can laugh at them really. Like Arsenal, like all the Arsenal players on them just won the Prem. They're in a UCL final. Harry Kane, like the best abroad English player, the best striker.
No,
this
not that he's the best, but
Jude's been. I think he's been a little inconsistent.
I think so too, but in terms of names, like people fear Jude Bellingham.
I think especially for England, he's very good for England. I don't think he's ever really
because they know how to play together. Like this U.S. team we're talking about, they don't really know each other.
It's so individual.
Like they are not a team. Could they become a team? Maybe. We don't know how long that takes. That England squad, they've been playing together forever. They've been playing against each other forever. They grew up together. Like that English soccer, if you're good in England, that is so small. You've known these people forever. You play against them. You play, even if they're not in the Premier League, you play against them in the Champions League. They know each other. They're close. They're friends. They're competitors. They're teammates. It is so solidified. Where even like Spain, like right now, isn't super, like, they're so good and they could win this thing so easily. But I think like England and France are both solid. Like they're units. They're like a club team in terms of how familiar they are with each other. And I think that this is England's best chance in decades.
If it's not this year, I don't see it in any other year. And I know people were saying that 2022.
Players are in their prime.
But I was at least thinking in 2022, I thought England still will be sharp in 2026. This is like, at this point with this England squad, I don't see it anything after this. This is like their pinnacle.
I think that they can do this. And I think like, not like, it hasn't always been this past. So like by saying like it's the most famous squad in the World Cup, like it's been Spain in the past, it's been Portugal in the past, it's been Argentina in the past. They are the most famous in terms of celebrity and name and just like
non-soccer fans know Jude Bellingham. They know Harry Kane. They know Marcus Rashford.
They're starting to know Bukayo Saka.
Because
like he's on New Balance commercials now here. Like
that's actually how I first knew him, was from the 2022 New Balance commercial.
Right? Like you have to think about who's in stuff, right? They know
it's
Jude.
England.
Like people are knowing Saka, like he's in it's New Balance. So it's just, I think that they can get a lot of people behind them. I think
they're gonna be
average American soccer fan. Obviously, we want US to do well. They're gonna want their favorites play for England. Like, yeah, I want USA to do well. I don't have any favorite players on that team. My favorite
GOAT.
My favorite players are on England. My favorite players are on Brazil. I'm gonna cheer for the US, but
it's what happens when your country lacks identity. And I think in the 2022 World Cup they had that. They had it a lot. You had people really passionate for this team, but now it's a little.
We
up
don't
in the
know them,
air.
and this might be the tournament to introduce us to them, right? Like this, they're young. This might be the tournament to introduce soccer fans to them, and for the next 8 to 10 years, we get behind them. But right now, we don't really know them.
It lacks identity.
Yeah. I like the England pick. I like the Brazil pick, and I agree that I think it's England's. It's now or never, basically. The thing that worries me about the England squad is the defensive back line is a little bit shaky.
Without Maguire was such a
yeah.
dumb choice.
England doesn't have the best defense.
The lack of Maguire, I think, is really astonishing.
And he's such a leader too. Like his header in the 2018 World Cup, like leadership. He had leadership. I'd say he's a winner player. I don't even say he's a meme. Like he is a clutch player. The goal against Lyon, goal against Liverpool. Like he's a leader. It was a dumb choice not to have him.
It's very disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's very, very disrespectful. Like, I don't think the Cole Palmer, it's crazy, it's weird. I don't think the Cole Palmer Phil Palmer is as disrespectful as
Maguire.
that Maguire. That is disrespectful.
He slotted the best penalty I've ever seen, the one in the 2020 Euro final. Like,
yeah.
I don't even joke with that. It is definitively the best penalty I've ever seen. Like, he smashed a camera.
It's incredibly disrespectful.
Like, leadership, just put him in.
Yeah, I think at the top, especially these like 3 teams we mentioned, plus Argentina and Brazil and Portugal, like the margins are just so fine, and to leave out a locker room leader like that, I think was a little bit confusing, to say the least. My pick would be France. I think they're a more polished version of what they were in 2022, and they basically won in 2022. Outside of that penalty shootout against Argentina, I think they've just got so much top end talent. Elise, Mbappe, Doué. I mean, you can pick any of them.
You're not getting past Saliba.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're just so well rounded.
Their defense is so hard to get around.
Yeah. But that is going to do it for us for this soccer segment. Thank you so much for Sam for joining us. We've got one final segment on today's show of One on One. We'll be right back with One on One on WFUV Sports.
Hi, I'm Mary Hawthorne, one of your hosts on WFUV's tennis podcast, Cross the Line. From breakdowns of majors to courtside U.S. Open coverage, we've got you covered on all things tennis from the ATP and WTA. Tune in to weekly episodes of Cross the Line on YouTube and featured segments on One on One. Cross the Line, WFUV's home court for tennis.
I guess I can't cheat.
We're in the home stretch of today's show on One, and we've got a little bit of a trivia game hosted by our very own producer who's just joining us, Sam Giangrande, and I'm going to let him explain the rules and get us underway. Sam, take it away.
Hello. So this is, I think, the 5th edition now. Starting to lose track, but it's called Hi, My Name Is. It's trivia. 5 athletes. Each athlete has 5 questions. The first question, 5 points, then goes 4, 3, 2, 1. You must answer with Hi, my name is. Say if the athlete is Tiger Woods. Hi, my name is Tiger Woods. And if you just say Tiger Woods, someone else can steal it and get it right, and they'll get the points. So our leaderboard, Brendan with 20 points, Max with 17, Derek with 11. The leaderboard is only have 3 people, so if someone beats 11, 17, or 20, welcome to the leaderboard. We're going to go right into it. First question. I am known for being extremely well at another sport than the one I've gone pro in, where I won a tournament in the sport I'm not pro in.
Won a tournament is what's throwing me off.
I will say this. I will use very general lingo. So if I say the word point, it doesn't mean basketball. It can mean any sport. So I'm going to say very broad terminology for this, but I will repeat the question. I am known for being extremely well at another sport than the one I've gone pro in, where I won a tournament in the sport I'm not pro in.
Is this Steph Curry?
5 points right
Hi,
off
my
the
name is
bat.
Steph Curry.
Oh my God,
Oh.
Maggie gets it.
No, I haven't even played this game before.
No.
Are we serious?
You watch
oh.
Are we
CBS.
serious?
You
I am
watch CBS
so
Sports
sorry.
Golazo. I know
Are
you
we
do.
serious?
So
I know you
I
watch
think
CBS.
that I think that point goes to Maggie though.
That's
The
ridiculous.
rules.
I mean,
I've
that
never
is
played it. The
ridiculous.
rules were stated.
You're a
I
soccer fan.
I did all the hard work there.
You're a
No,
soccer
I
fan.
can't, I physically can't give it to you. I'm sorry.
You're a soccer fan.
Thomas,
You've
I'm
watched the
sorry.
game.
You knew
That
the
was
rule, as I
wild.
said. If you don't say
Robbery.
hi, my name is,
Robbery.
it's
All right,
not
next.
on there. So that's 5 points to Maggie right off the bat.
Whoa.
So if no one knew, it's because of his golf skills. He won was it a celebrity golf
Yeah,
tournament?
it was like a pro. Thing.
So his other ones was my mom finds me $100 every time I do something 3 times or more in a game where if he has 3 or more turnovers. I could have started with that one. I thought that was a good one.
That was crazy.
I hold over 35 records in the sport I play for 3-point shooting. I brought my college to their first national tournament for the first time since 1969, where we reached the quarterfinals. In 2008, I am known as the best 3-point shooter in the NBA. So, Thomas, I think you know the rules now.
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
He knew him from the start.
No. Sorry, I was just so excited.
I did say it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
listening is part of the game, so.
I think this is the first time it happened where someone didn't say it. But, Travis, I do agree. Next player, first question. I have a very famous nickname. While it has a royal tone, it isn't a positive thing to be called.
Hi, my name is Nikola Jokic.
No. So you get one, I would say this, you get one guess as well per question. So you are freezed out right now, Thomas. So Maggie and Travis, if you don't know it, I will skip to the next one.
I'm gonna skip to. I had a feeling, but I'm gonna skip to the next one. It's up to you.
I have a feeling, but it's not that. So
We can
wrong.
just guess.
Go go to the
Hi,
next
my
question.
No. Go next question. Go
If
next
it,
question.
So the next one. Everyone knows my name, but they assume it's my last name when it's really my first.
Hi, my name is LeBron James.
No. So you're freezed out right now, Travis. I do like that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good guess.
It is a good guess. It's a solid guess.
I'm frozen out, but I thought the king. That was the thing. Ah.
But that's a good thing to be called.
Yeah.
So
skip,
the
I think.
royal
Yeah,
tone
we'll
behind
skip
I
it
don't
is
want to
negative.
skip. Yeah.
I scored my 100th goal on my 20th birthday, though my team lost the match. So you're kind of seeing which sport we're going to right now.
It's definitely soccer.
It could be cricket.
I know you know
Skip.
a lot of cricket players, Sam. so-
Skip. Just in term of time.
Yeah, just
All right.
skip it.
The team I'm most famous for playing at, I almost joined their rivals at the age of 14. The next one will give it away, but
Skip.
really?
Just because I.
All right, so this is for 1 point. I am Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer.
Hi, my name is Neymar.
6 point. Or now 6 point. I was one
Yeah.
there. So I'll explain quickly. The famous nickname is the Prince Who Never Became King. A lot of
Oh.
people call Neymar that, and it's not really the best thing to be
I've
called.
actually never
'cause-
heard that before.
Really?
I actually have heard that
it's
before.
It's a very popular nickname in my opinion. But so he almost joined Real Madrid at 14. It didn't happen. A lot of people assume his last name is Neymar, which I thought it was, but it's Neymar.
Oh, I know.
de
'Cause Brazil
something
is always.
Santos.
Yeah.
I assumed this was his last name. It is his first, which was a little shocker to me. He scored his 100th goal for during a Santos game when he turned 20, but they lost, and then I already explained the other two.
Yeah.
So next one. This one's a rerun from last time, but I really want to put it in. It was a really enjoyable one. When the Beatles first visited America during the height of Beatlemania, I met with them and greeted them into the country where John Lennon famously called me a loudmouth.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Ali.
Let's go, Travis! I'm so happy you got that. I'm so happy.
That
you
was
got
the
that.
easiest. I mean, okay, you said by the time of the Beatles, and I was like, okay, if there's gonna be one fighting in the thing in here for me, it's got to be Ali.
so
and
happy
who better
you
than the
got
loudest mouth of all time, like the
Yeah.
greatest trash talker of all time? Come on, I'll take that one
So
easily.
last time I did this, it was only until the last one. Grace, who's also behind here, got it. So the rest of the questions were, I started the sport I play because my bike was stolen. Travis, did you know that one?
I
too?
did know that one.
So this was done before I even started. One of the most iconic photos in sports is of me. Everyone knows that picture. I won a gold medal in the 1960 Olympics. I changed my name. So we have 2 left. The second to last one's double points. The last one's triple. We can be a little slower with these. We do have the time.
I'll take my 5. I'll take my 5 points right there. That was the easiest one I think I could have
I
gotten.
thought it was challenging. But
No.
I'm glad, Travis, you got it. I love that question a lot. So this is for double points. In the leaderboard right now, we have Maggie at 6, Travis at 5. But Thomas, you can still very much get back.
I've got 5 points. I have 5 points.
In your heart, maybe. But we'll go right into this one. I was in one of the most iconic music videos of all time, where most people didn't believe it was actually me in the video.
Hi, my name is Kawhi Leonard.
No, it's not Kawhi Leonard.
I was just thinking that I was gonna say that one, Thomas. I don't know why, but that was the exact thing in my mind when that was going through.
Yeah, I have.
That was the exact thing that was going through my mind. I didn't want to say it.
Skip.
Travis, is this a skip for you too?
It is a skip because he took. Thank you, Thomas, for taking my answer.
Sorry. Yeah.
That was my answer, by the way.
It's a good one. I'll explain after, obviously, which music video it was. I have a semi-irrational fear known as aquaphobia.
Skip.
What?
Scared of the water.
Yeah. You have to realize the later I spend doing these, the more random questions I'm getting.
Okay, yeah, I've got no idea
Skip.
this one.
This is a skip for everyone?
Yeah.
Multiple people have worn my shirt number since I made it so iconic to where even athletes in different sports have repped it.
Hi, my name is Michael Jordan.
And that's, how much is that? 6 points for Maggie, so she's doubled her score to 12. So I'll explain quickly. The music video he was in Michael Jackson's music video Jam.
What?
Which people didn't think it was him in it because it's Michael Jordan showing Michael Jackson how to play basketball. Which I don't think his song is super known. Like Jam is like a super known song, but
yeah, I've never
it's
heard
niche. It's
I'm just really happy Thomas said hi. My name is Kawhi Leonard before I got to say hi. My name is Kawhi Leonard.
It wasn't a bad guess, but yeah. So a lot of people have worn Michael Jordan's number. The other two was, I'm one of the biggest debates among sports for who's the greatest. I have the same initials as Michael Jackson. So final one, this is 3 times the points. We have 3 minutes left. We'll go right into it. I am a huge enjoyer of Lego, where I once built a over 4,000 piece castle to keep my OCD at bay. You have to realize I scour the internet for these deep trivia questions.
I'm about to say somebody that is definitely isn't. So skip, please.
Skip.
Yeah, we'll skip that one.
All right. So for
I don't think anybody knows who Brandon Moreno is, so I'm gonna skip that. I know it's not him.
it's not. But for 12 points, when I scored an infamous point, the commentator said a very famous line, saying, "Blank can raise the roof with a blank here." So the blank is, the first blank's the name, the second is a terminology, which would give away what it is. I'll say it again. When I scored an infamous point, the commentator said a very famous line, saying, "Blank can raise the roof with a blank here."
Skip.
I'm going to skip this one.
I'm shocked. I thought that was going to give it away. So for 9 points, I have had a part of my body insured for $70 million. This is why this is the triple points one. It's a very hard question.
Hi, my name is Shohei Ohtani.
No. This is a skip for everyone.
Hi, my name is LeBron James.
No, but that is a good one.
Okay.
I'm going to skip this one.
So for 2 points, I was knighted.
Hi, my name is Sir
Lewis
Charles
Hamilton.
Barkley.
Travis and then Maggie. I couldn't hear it. Travis, what you say?
Oh, hi, my name is Sir Charles Barkley.
No.
Hi, my name is Lewis Hamilton.
No. So Thomas, you can have a guess quickly for 6 points, and then we'll go to the last one.
Hi, my name is Harry Kane.
No.
All right, next.
You're on the right track. I am regarded as one of the greatest free kick takers of all time.
Hi, my name is David Beckham.
There we go for 3 points right at the end. Thomas, you
Dang.
got your little redemption. So the final leaderboard, Maggie, you go on the leaderboard, going above Derek for 3rd place. Maggie, you are at 12. Travis, you're at 5. And then Thomas, you got 3 right at the end.
Wow, and I wonder who the 5 points are from.
Once again though, I think these get harder and harder each time. These
Wow.
are some tough questions.
Those were some excellent questions, Sam. Thank you so much for hosting another edition of Hi, My Name Is. And that's going to take us right to the end of our show here. For Thomas Tisdale, for Maggie Danahy, for Travis Hayden, for Sam Giangrande, and Grace McCarron, I've been Thomas Tisdale. Thank you to Bobby Traffordini, our WFUV Sports Director, and thank you to all the listeners out there. Have a great Saturday. and we'll see you in the next one.